Jennifer Lewis just went on Keke Palmer and demonstrated to the whole world why it is that men don't want to deal with older women anymore.
What's a question that no one's ever asked you in an interview, or that a question that you wish people would ask you?
They've asked me everything because I have no secrets.
Oh.
There's no shame in my game. I talk about everything in my memoir, The Mother Black Hollywood, everything from my addictions to molestations, abortions, childhood abuse. There's no shame in my game. Yeah, bitch, it happened. You know, I slept with 63 men. Now, that was fabulous. But
oh, my gosh, give me some of that.
Yeah, no, you don't want that. You know what I wish I had known? I wish I'd known my body was a temple. I didn't know.
Oh, please.
Oh, my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Yeah, you heard that right. According to her, the number is 63. And as we all know, women routinely understate their body counts. So if she's admitting to the 63, the number is probably over 100.
Damn!
If she's admitting to the 63, then that number, then it shoots off the scales at well over 100 is basically, I mean, she was in Hollywood for decades, since before many of us were even born, myself included. So, yeah. Yeah, that's a thing that happened there. And there are just so many things you could say about that. So many things you could say about that in particular. First of all, if a man sat up there and said that, what would they be saying about him? What would they be saying? I've got a lot I want to cover here. I wanted to play that sound bite first. And I'm going to let it play a little bit longer here. I guess let me go ahead and let you hear the thing because there's some context that is missing. I want to make sure that you don't miss that context because this is a lot, especially for younger females to hear.
What's a question that no one's ever asked you in an interview, or that a question that you wish people would ask you?
They've asked me everything because I have no secrets.
Oh.
There's no shame in my game. I talk about everything in my memoir, The Mother Black Hollywood, everything from my addictions to molestations, abortions, childhood abuse. There's no shame in my game. Yeah, bitch, it happened. You know, I slept with 63 men. Now, that was fabulous. But
oh, my gosh, give me some of that.
Yeah, no, you don't want that. You know what I wish I had known? I wish I'd known my body was a temple. I didn't know it. I know it now. And
what let you know that maybe, oh, this is a problem?
I'm listening. Oh, no, I never knew it was a problem. I thought everybody was right. Hey, titties and hips for my book. But anyway, yeah. No. I didn't know it was a problem. The addiction. Look, when you get off a Broadway stage and all that ovations and applause and people praising you and the mobbage and the homage, what are you going to do? You're going to either go stick something in your arm, you're going to go smoke something, you're going to drink something to come down from that high. So I used to just go find a gorgeous man and out of him. What are you going to do? Hey. I mean, that's what I did. I would have sex. Sex was the drug. And it wasn't until when life got real and the AIDS epidemic hit where I went.
Oh, you mean when your generation, helped to propagate a whole new era of sexually transmissible diseases, because that's what happens when you're acting like dogs. When you act like animals, that's the result. Okay, that one clip right there is so much to unpack and dissect and deconstruct there. And fortunately for you all, you've got me here for the job. So she tells you that she's been with 63 men. Let's put that in its proper context, people. I've said this before. I'm the only place that has put that in context, because you, in a day and era of degeneracy where people don't put this in context for you and it kind of gets washed over, and biologically intrinsically males are repulsed by it, so are females, at least they should be. But you can't really explain why, so let me go ahead and remind you again. Can you remember the last 25 movies that you watched? Can you remember the last 25 restaurants that you went to? If I asked you to name all of them and provide proof that you've been there, can you, off the top of your head, name the last 25 movies you watched and the last 25 restaurants that you've been to? For the overwhelming majority of the population, unless you're some memory expert, you couldn't do that. Especially not across the course of 5 decades. Listen to me now. I don't mean if you went to 25 restaurants this year. I'm talking about over the course of 5 decades. Can you name a random restaurant over the course of 5 decades? No, not really. No. Now imagine if I told you to remember the last 63 restaurants that you've been to. In your life, you probably figured that you've watched over 60 movies. You can't remember them. I mean, if I play one and you saw it before, you might remember that. But if I just named it off the top of their heads, if I told you to give me all the names, you couldn't remember all the names. Now, if you saw one or I said one and say, hey, have you seen this movie before? You might remember that. But if I told you, here's a pen, here's a paper, write down the last 63 movies that you've watched, you'd be like, oh, no, I can't do that. Even if you know that you've seen over 100 movies, you can't remember that off the top of your head. So when a female tells you that she slept with 20 or 30 men since she was 18 years old, in many cases they're 25-year-olds and have already had that many. What? When a female tells you that she's been with 30 men, what it means is she's been with so many she can't even remember them all. Maybe if she ran into them randomly, it's like, oh, you did get me behind them bleachers that time, didn't you? But they've been with so many that they can't even remember them all. They can't even recall them all. There's just random dudes, the guy who worked at the tire shop, the maintenance worker at the apartment complexes. There's so many of them they can't even remember them. And that's if you go with the number that they give you. If you go with the real number, it's like, man, they're just guesstimating. If they're being honest, they're just guesstimating and estimating. What they can tell you is the number is probably in the dozens. You know, like a serial killer. You thought it was like 7 or 8, and she's like, oh, no, it's like 40 or 50. So what they're giving you are, I would say, ballpark figures, but more like first base or second base figures. And that's about it. Jennifer Lewis is getting ready to turn 70, I think she said. And I'm just saying, think about that for a few moments. At least 5 decades of rampant sex and whatnot. Just think about, by her own admission, sex, drugs, and everything else. Think about that for a few moments. Of course the number is not 63. Of course it's not. Of course the number is significantly higher than that. Of course it is. And I bring this up because I want you to realize that this is what you're asking men to commit to support, to overlook. And there's a really bigger part of this that's really scandalous, which I'm going to get into here in just a few moments.
What's a question that no one's ever asked you in an interview, or that a question that you wish people would ask you?
They've asked me everything because I have no secrets.
Oh.
There's no shame in my game. I I talk about everything in my memoir, The Mother Black Hollywood, everything from my addictions to molestations, abortions.
Okay, abortions. So hurry, step right up, fellas, and go ahead and commit your legacy to this. She has no reservations whatsoever about going to the clinic and ending your bloodline. So hurry, step right up. Line forms to the left.
Childhood abuse. There's no shame in my game. Yeah, bitch, it happened. You know, I slept with 63 men. Now that was fabulous.
Okay, I slept with 63 men. Now that was fabulous. Okay, well, at least be honest about it. At least own it. At least own it. I slept with 63 men. It was fabulous. Okay. Well, at least own it. Well, I'm saying, folks, 63 men, that means everybody in Hollywood can tell you what that thing was like. So everybody can tell you they didn't grip them butt cheeks back in the 70s or 80s or 90s. So, yeah.
But then,
Oh my gosh, give me some of that.
Yeah, no, you don't want that. You know what?
Now you heard Kiki there. Oh my God, give me some of that. I'm like, yeah, Kiki, just you too. Once they make you feel comfortable, come on out and say exactly what you really mean. Yeah, Kiki, well, once she's got you feeling comfortable up there, I'm like, okay, bring all the hoes out. What? Yeah, let them, they all start to get comfortable, get relaxed, feel like, oh, they've gone overboard and you feel like you've done less than that. So, yeah, go ahead and get real comfortable and come on out and say everything. Say what you really mean. Say what a man would really be getting if he gets with you. Say that. At least so some clown ass simp out there can make his decisions with his eyes wide open. I think her baby daddy's going into the military so he can get them benefits together. And all right, usually they do it in reverse order, but he's stepping up there first. So yeah, go ahead and say that so we can all hear it. Hear what you really mean and what you really value.
But I wish I had known. I wish I'd known my body was a temple. I didn't know it. I know it now. And
you wish you had known it was a temple. I mean, but what good is a temple if you can't exploit it? So you weren't interested in a temple. You were interested in a dance club. You were interested in a whorehouse. You had no interest in having a temple. When you had all the advantages on your side, you wanted to experience all the fun and the enjoyment. You didn't want to have the capacity of doing that and not enjoying it. You wanted to have the ability to have it and enjoy it. Otherwise, it was worthless. Otherwise, it was worthless. And that's what it really is.
Let you know that maybe, oh, this is a problem.
I'm listening. Oh, no, I never knew it was a problem. I thought everybody was hey.
Well, she say, I didn't know it was a problem. I thought everybody was out here. Oh, man.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Yeah, baby boomers snitching on themselves. Yeah, the boomers snitching on themselves. There you go. 'Cause now there's her telling the truth. You want to know what the big lie is that these old hoes tell these young women? They make the young women feel like they're the problem and they're the thoughts. And I've told you all for decades now, man, look here, back in the day, Nat King Cole, Elvis Presley, Cab Calloway, the Four Tops, the Ink Spots, the Temptations. We're talking about back in the days of black and white television and AM radio. Man, the females back then were throwing they draws on the stage. Smokey Robinson, Jackie Robinson. Oh, I see Jackie Robinson anyway. Smokey Robinson. Y'all get the point. Probably Jackie Robinson too, damn it. What? I meant Jackie Wilson, not Jackie Robinson. Smokey Robinson, Jackie Wilson, maybe Jackie Robinson too. But, I mean, for those of you who are young, Generation Alpha and Z and whatnot, you can go Google that about back in the day. Women used to throw your grandmama was throwing her panties. Well, your great grandmama at this point. What? Was throwing her panties on the stage. That was what they used to do. When the Ink Spots and the Temptations and the Faux Tops and Smokey Robinson and Al Green and all them fellas used to come to town, them young gals back then, damn sitting in the audience singing raunchy lyrics. Grandmama and great grandmama back then was flinging them draws on the stage like a slingshot. You see that movie Sinners, a lot of them are glad they ain't alive no more because they're like, yeah, that's what was really going down. So today, the only difference is that back then, cameras weren't everywhere to document all their thottery and sluttery. So it's a whole bunch of them that after they aged out the game, they started going to church to go see if they could cover up all that stuff they were doing. And hopefully by the time you or the grandkids came along, nobody would remember, or you'd be too young and naive to realize that old man Sam down the street is giving your grandmama the side eye look. It's like, okay, you acting like you baking cookies. Me and 3 other fellas used to break that down. So, yeah, that's the real story. The real story is that's what they used to do. They used to, today, they used to call it swinging. They used to call it swinging. Now you call it the freak off. What? Yeah, now you call it the freak off. Back in Jennifer Lewis's day, they called it swinging. And they still call it swinging today. But back in her time, they called it swinging. And don't let the drug use fool you. That's what they did. Look at Bill Cosby. They would get together. We gonna snort some coke. We gonna take some Quaaludes. We gonna do some uppers and downers, what they used to call them. And it's gonna be about 6 or 7 of us up in here getting freaky. What did Rick James call it back in the 70s? Super freak. So when you hear about the freak off, freak is an old term. They've been saying that now since at least the 70s. Probably the 60s. So that's an old term. It's going to be 6 or 7 or more. Studio 54. What? There is nothing new under the sun. It's just these old chicks sat up here and got you all thinking that you're so much worse than them. In reality, most of the females today ain't as bad as they granny.
And deal with it.
A lot of you young chicks today, you're not as bad as your granny was. The only difference is we got documentation for you. Granny was out there doing that too. It's just there weren't the cameras and whatnot, but in particular, if your grandmama was real eager to move from one city to another, see, back then when you got pregnant as a teenager, they sent you off somewhere. Back then when you was the little loose girl, they sent you away. Let me say something right here tonight that's gonna hurt a whole lot of damn feelings. It's about to break a whole lot of taboos. A bunch of y'all gonna quit talking about the old folk in your family. And to all the young men listening, you're gonna start hearing this with new ears. There's a bunch of you who live up north.
Damn!
There's a bunch of you who live up north and you think your grandmama left the South and she telling you that she went up north and then she started doing hair or started cleaning houses and talking about she was strong and independent, you need to go back and go check some of them dates when she gave birth. Oh, you ain't gonna like that. Some of y'all, your kinfolk ended up in California. Some of y'all, your kinfolk ended up in St. Louis. Others of them, your kinfolk ended up in New York, D.C. Yeah, your family from the South, but some female in the family ended up being up north somewhere, out west somewhere. Without you really realizing exactly she giving you her version of the story. And until I said something tonight, most of you never thought about it this way. So who are all these damn clowns on the internet claiming they're gaming you up and didn't tell you this very basic thing? You're going to start asking some uncomfortable questions at the next family get together when you start doing the math. Now, please understand, the old folk in your family already know this. In case you didn't know, the old people in your family already know this. They're just hoping you little young folk don't get suspicions and start asking questions. I promise you, the moment that you start asking about dates, when you ask, when did she end up in Chicago? When did she end up in Minneapolis? When did she end up in Yonkers? And when were you born again, Uncle Fred? And Uncle Fred gonna be like, oh hell, this little bastard done figured it out. There's a whole bunch of y'all, if you start doing the dates on what your grandmamas was doing, you realize I'll be damned, the thoughts is old as hell. It's not new. They're just trying to make you feel some kind of way so that they can keep stealing respect and esteem from you that they never earned. But in reality, when they were your age and they had a chance to get it in, a bunch of them were off the damn chain. You know why? Because, listen to me carefully, weed and all these drugs weren't illegal like that back then. Here's the crazy thing, see, they didn't lock you down. The prison industrial complex, white supremacy, and so on and so forth. Different discussion tonight. We're not getting to that part of it. But that stuff was legal. You didn't have some of these killer STDs like you got today. These are the folks who created them and spread them. You didn't have killer diseases and killer drugs. Back in the 60s and 70s, cocaine basically had the same effect on you that weed has on you today. I'll tell you about that book, The Botany of Addiction, how over the decades you've had chemists and folk go to work on these plants to bring out the intoxicating effect of them. And then next thing you know, you've got weed with the potency of cocaine, and you've got cocaine with the potency of rocket fuel. To the extent that now the weed plant that you have today is a completely foreign substance from the one that your mama or your grandmama was smoking. The one you have, that plant you have today, it's a completely different species. Where the THC content spiked out, has been genetically engineered to spike the content out of this world. And now they've crossbred it with other plants, just like the cigarette companies did with nicotine. They've mixed it with other things now, and you've got some really weird hybrid plant that you call marijuana, but molecularly speaking, this is actually a totally different thing. It just resembles the marijuana leaf, but that's about where the similarities end. You're dealing with a whole different thing. And when you start getting into cocaine today, oh man, cocaine didn't used to just kill you like that. Back in the day, folks, there was a reason why you could have cocaine and Coca-Cola and doctors could prescribe it. The worst that would happen is you get hooked, but Cocaine wasn't this thing that would just kill you like that. Not yet it wasn't. Not till you get to their generation it didn't. Now, once you got to their generation, all of a sudden, these things start taking off. The STDs get super deadly. The drugs get super dangerous. You know why? Because their generation was so damn strung out and degenerate that they were using drugs to such an extent that previous generations had not done, that just like in prison, the drugs stopped having an effect on them. They wanted harder and harder drugs because their ability to get high was going out the window. So pretty soon, they couldn't get high off this other stuff. They couldn't get high off the stuff that they had been taking. So eventually they demanded to have higher and higher drugs. And that's how you ended up here. So be aware that now that they have to tell the tale, their version of the story is y'all all sluts and hoes and they were all doing just great and y'all just out of line and y'all need to respect them. And in reality, they all had stories like this. The single mother explosion and the STD explosion and the drug use explosion. Where do you think that came from? A generation of sodomites and Gammerites and social degenerates, a whole generation of them that was their reason for living. And so there you go. There you go. So if you go back through your family and start asking some questions based on what you heard here tonight, and you start doing some math and start putting some numbers together, you're going to start coming to some conclusions to be like, oh man. Now it starts making a little bit more sense to you. But do not let these old hoes fool you into thinking that you buck wild and crazy and all of them were a bunch of junior nuns with their skirts down to their ankles, and you would never catch them in the back seat of a car with 3 other dudes. Let me explain to you. They could be hoes back then for real. You know why? Because you didn't document anything. There's nothing she won't tell you about. Today, you go to a hotel, you got to have a credit card number, you got to have a driver's license. They've locked the whole damn society down. You can't get drugs without them knowing. You can't get money without them knowing. You can't check into a hotel without them knowing. You can't do any of that. You go these places now, they know where you're at. They know where you've been. Back then, you throw the man $30, you go get a room. I mean, they had inns and stuff like that. You can, all over the damn place. You go somewhere, and back then you can get stuff by the hour. So, I mean, they used to be able to go anywhere and it wasn't documented. So if your wife or something wanted to check up on you, good luck with that. If your parents didn't know you had no money, good luck with that. Or if some grown man was taking your little hot ass daughter somewhere. What? If you let your daughter be out here in the streets and some grown man came cruising by the high school, hello, Jerry Lee Lewis, and come and scoop your daughter up, hello, Elvis Aaron Presley. He goes to the front desk, and then he jumped back out there in the car and come roll her little ass around to room number 32. And yeah, nobody know anything, nobody seen anything, nobody heard anything. Nobody heard anything. Now, back then, they could do all this stuff. Folks weren't taking. Y'all realize with the Mike Vrabel situation, the coach of the New England Patriots football team who got caught basically, and we don't know how long he'd been running around with that reporter, Diana Rossini. I mean, now after the first photos came out of them at that Sedonia hotel, now everybody's going back for half a decade like, hey, I saw them years ago too, and I got pictures too. That never used to happen, man. That never used to happen. Everybody didn't have a camera like that everywhere. You didn't have footage like that. It didn't used to happen. Now it does. But she's just blowing the whistle that back in the day when they used to be able to get away with it. Oh man, fellas had their elbows and their ankles. And when she says the 63 men, please understand, sometimes that means doubling and tripling up. What? Damn! That doesn't just mean one by one. When she says 63 men, what that means is sometimes the men got to double and triple up. So if old Jen was available when she came through New York, if you and two of the homies want to break off a piece, okay, as soon as she finished with her acting gig for the day, we know where she going for the night, so bring some cocaine and, well, it's going down. It's going down like Frank Lucas. So I want to let you hear that right there so that you can see that, by the way, when she's being totally honest, she's like, by the way, and she loved it. Please don't miss that last part. And she loved it. Even today, if she has to tell you the truth about it, fellas, the real problem with getting with a hoe is you don't want to hear one who come to you real like Jennifer Lewis. You don't really want that. For you all pension pimps and salary simps and whatnot, and nigga, I guess the arthritis got to get you because you don't want that chick you sitting next to tell you the damn truth. Fellas, when your chick was getting run through, she wasn't doing it because she hated it. She was doing it because she loved it. Cookie! She was doing what she do. She was loving every minute of it. Cassie didn't do the freak off for 10 years because she didn't like it. You wouldn't stay at a job for a year that you didn't like. You wouldn't sit up here and you wouldn't go fishing for a decade. Okay, forget a job, a hobby, something you don't have to do. You wouldn't keep going to the same lousy hotel for a decade. You wouldn't keep going to the same lousy restaurant for a decade. Hell, you wouldn't do it more than twice. So you damn sure wouldn't be going for a decade if you didn't like it. And you for sure wouldn't be flying across the country to go back to that hotel. No, if you're going back for 10 years, you like it, you love it, you want some more of it. Which is why Cassie is fleeing the country now. What? Now that Cassie is sitting on some of them M's and some of her victims, since she set the template for what qualifies as a victim, well, now Diddy's victims are her victims because she was a co-conspirator, and now she's done fled the country because, yeah, everybody's like, by the way, she's on video, she was loving it. She was loving it. Daphne Joy, loving it. All the rest of them, loving it. They weren't doing it because they didn't like it. They were doing it because this was the get down. But when it's time to come to your little square ass, now she's telling you, oh, I didn't like any of that. You did it for decades. What do you mean you didn't like it? Oh, no, it's just, I was young. It's okay. Being young don't mean you don't like it. No, now that she needs a sponsor, now that she's done got too old, now that the fellows who used to give away cocaine and give away cars, now that they're not bellying up to the bar anymore, Now she's going to go look, okay, let me go find some sad sack ass woe out simp to do this. And what they're not telling you is that, by the way, hey, bruh, she loved it. That's why you don't want to hear any numbers. You don't want to hear her. The fellas be meeting chicks today and don't even want to know about her life before the day she met him. This is what it means to be a fella in his 40s or 50s today trying to deal with a chick in her 40s or 50s. This is Jennifer Lewis, and Jennifer Lewis is representative of the older females today, and this is what fellas are running into, basically. If you want to know why it is that men in their 40s or 50s who got their act all the way together are like, yeah, we don't want to deal with chicks in our age group, this is why right here. Because it's going to cost you everything, and basically you have to sit up here and play the Jedi mind trick on yourself. You can ask her about certain things, but as a man, it's a security risk for a female to look you in your face and lie to you. Okay, but the problem is you can't stay with her if she tells you the truth. So fellas just end up being, no, I'm not going to ask any questions about what we knew before March 3rd, 2025. I won't ask any questions about anything before that. So you just got to take her at face value. Don't get to go through the Rolodex. Well, you know, I mean, we all got a past. Nigga, you ain't got this past. Let me explain something to the young cats out there. This is what makes all of this particularly salacious. Men don't have stories like this.
And deal with it, nigga.
Men don't have stories like this. What Jennifer Lewis telling you, what Keke Palmer is laughing at, this is not the average male's experience. The average male ain't slept with a dozen females from the time he left high school till the time he was 30. The average male has not done that. You wouldn't have a red pill movement if that was the case. You already have the documentation. Males don't do this. The females. Oh, that's a whole different thing. And it has been for decades. And by decades, I mean the last 7, 8. The average male hasn't slept with 5 females in one weekend. Do you understand that? The average male has not slept with 3 women in one weekend. The average girl in college has slept with 3 guys in one weekend. The average female. Not the exceptional female, just you pick one at random on a college campus and she done been stretched out by 3 dudes in one weekend. The average male cannot say the same thing. He doesn't have those opportunities. Now, the top 10% or 20% of males, they might be able to say that. But for the average, for the rest of them, no. The bottom 80% of the, well, I should say top 80% of women, is that top anymore? But the majority of the female population, average female, yeah, she done been with 3 dudes in one weekend. That's just the typical female experience. Men don't get flued out. Females today, the average female college student has been flued out. She was crying like a hoe when Spirit Airlines shut down. Oh, she was crying when they shut down. She was going over her expenses. No, I mean, she got to pay when for the guy she really wants to be with, she has to pay. Now, for the fellas who want her, though, they can do that themselves. That's kind of where you get stuck at. But the average female, she's been flued out. The average male hasn't, not by a woman. The average male, men don't have females popping up in their DMs saying, hey, let me pay for an airline ticket for you to come out here tomorrow. Ain't that right, Abba and preach? Men don't get that. Young men don't get women in your DMs offering to pay for your airline ticket. You just started talking to her a couple of hours ago, and she's offering to pay for an airline ticket for you to come see her tomorrow. That doesn't happen to males at all. And everyone knows this. Females, I'm not talking about a chick who's a 10. The average 4 has had that offer. Definitely the 6s and up. So that is the typical female experience. Getting flued out, laid on, drinks bought, drugs brought in. That's the way females live. But that's not the male experience. Males don't have stories like that. Males don't have stories of the first female who was in his DMs offering to fly him out. Males don't have that story at all. At all. So if you're a man in your 40s or your 50s and you meet a female in her 40s or 50s coming at you with the take care of me talk after all these decades, she's basically looking to catch you at your weakest and get you to take a bad deal. And if you're weak and beaten down by all those beta years of failure, then you'll take it and end up being some washed up thoughts bailout plan. And so you're the guy who married the ex-porn chick. That's who you are now. You're basically the ex-porn chick. You're basically the guy who wifed up the ex-porn chick. And so all these pension pimps out here, that's where they sitting at in life. They're sitting there. You're with a woman that you can't actually ask about her history and where she's been. You can't really compare life experiences. Not really. You can't scratch beneath the surface because you know damn well what's right beneath the surface, so you know it's there. So you have to insist that the female lie to you. Either if you ask a question, she has to directly lie and not say what it is, or she has to lie by omission and evade your questions. This is why so many females today are having to go and buy their own houses. This is why so many females today are under crushing amounts of debt. This is why so many females today are on OnlyFans. This is why so many females have had to go back to school and stay in school. This is the reason why. Because a man's not going to stand in front of bullets for a chick who done been run through before she even got to him. So for most women, they don't really even have an option to begin with. They're not single by choice, they're single by necessity. What they're really, when they get in their 40s and 50s, it's like there's no competition. There is no competition to be number 64.
And deal with it, nigga.
There is no competition to be number 64 on a chick's body count. Except by the lowest, scummy, degenerate dregs of society. It's just these dudes just lay up with whatever. They don't say no to anything because they can't. But there's no man who's sitting out there saying, boy, I can't wait to be number 64 or 65 in her body count. You don't give a damn how old she is. Once you hear that number, that's it. Her value is zeroed out. Value zeroed out. In the chat room, Sean Morrissey, I'm so glad you said that there because why does that even matter? Why does that even matter? let me go ahead and throw the Zoom up here and we can go ahead and have a conversation about that. Since that's a fact that everybody already knows, but some folks are bothered by it. I'm not bothered by it. Yeah, they are. So, reminds them of some things. It's like, oh man, them body blows hitting them, hooked them ribs and hooked them kidney shots. And it's like, damn, well, and there's a good reason for this. Nobody ever says these things when it's men, by the way. Nobody ever says this. It wasn't until my program that, by the way, some of the slow bus dumbest and densest, when my man Mike Daniels was calling up and was talking about us, we were talking about Stephon Diggs when my man Mike Daniels called up. It's like, you don't know what's going on with people. Now, with men, nobody ever says, well, he might be bipolar. Nobody ever says he might have an issue. Nobody ever says, well, he's got mental emotion. Nobody ever says that for men. For men, it don't matter why you did it. Nigga, hold this L. No one goes into, oh, well, tell me about your mama and tell me about your Zoloft prescription and tell me about why you may be thrown off. Nobody says that for men. No one ever interjects with that statement. Well, Stephon might be thrown off. Mike was the first one to say that and then had dumbass niggas in my chat room sitting up here upset with him. So if y'all want to know why I was off on folk that night, yeah, this is why. Yeah, men don't get that. When somebody says that about men, okay, this fella's got some excessive sexual behavior here, it doesn't immediately go to, well, he might have some issues. He might have some problems. Mike said that and had dumbass males in there. Man, we ain't trying to hear that. What the hell are you talking about? Soon as you say it for a female, well, she got issues there, though. It's been a while. She wasn't diagnosed. I got the Zoom link up here, so go ahead and give me a call here, Mr. Morrissey. Let's go ahead and chop it up. We can have this discussion about that. So glad you said that. We can have that discussion about that. I just want to remind you all, that's a radically different reception than men get. Men don't get you might be bipolar and you might have some emotional issues. And tell me about your mom and your daddy. It's just, no good bastard. You made all these bastard kids. You done laid up with all these hoes. Future, you're no good. Nobody sits up here and says Future might be bipolar. Nobody goes to, maybe he's a victim of something. Maybe something's wrong. There's other factors to it. Nobody does that. No one comes to men and says, let me go ahead and have some sympathy or look for some extenuating circumstances. Nobody ever does that. And if you start trying to talk about it, they're going to yell you down like they did Mike and start sitting up here trying to put you down and shut you up and say, forget about that. Females show up. Well, Jason, just because Ciara was laid up with Future, Future is the bad one. That's the problem, Jason. You wrong. Future was the bad one. So Future's the bad one, Ciara's cool people. Stephon Diggs is the bad one. Cardi B and the rest of them, they alright. It's the men corrupting the females. There's so many fellas around here, niggas. Y'all need to have some tampons and a G-string because that's where you at. Okay, Sean doesn't need to comment in the chat room anymore. You got 2 minutes to be on Zoom. It's just as simple as that. If you got anything else to say, you can say it on Zoom. So y'all got to understand, some of them dealing with their mommy issues, and it's hitting close to home. Like I said, them body blows, it's hooked them ribs like Sugar Ray Leonard. It's, oh man, it could be bipolar. Okay, let's have a discussion about what excuses bipolar and what doesn't. And by the way, once again, we never invoke this with males. As a male, you can't ever have an issue that excuses your behavior. As a male, you are always responsible for what you do. There's no such animal as an extenuating circumstance. You're just always at fault. You're always accountable. You're always responsible. You don't have any excuses. You don't get to come back later with any explanation. No, you just got to suck this L up. And you have to suffer the consequences. Well, that's how we do men. So the second we have a conversation about the females, all of a sudden, there's other things going on here. And it's, for some people, they're unhappy about that. For some people, they're unhappy about that. For some people, they are displeased. That's hurting them because, remember, I just said these are going to be uncomfortable things. These are going to be uncomfortable things because they're going to be in a situation where some of the questions I was asking tonight, that's tough on them. That's going to be tough on them. That's going to be hard. They don't want to hear this right here because it's like, yeah, they hearing Jennifer Lewis, and it's like, yeah, that's reminding them of some people. That's reminding them of some people. These are tough discussions to have because some of your baby boomer mamas and grandmamas, and you're hearing this stuff right here, and you got a bunch of her woven into your DNA, so this discussion is hurting your feelings. She's supposed to be the one carrying this shame, and you sitting there looking at your feet. Damn, you like it. And so instead of you being like, okay, well, I ain't got to carry that, you hear stuff that hits a little too close to home and sounds a little bit too familiar to a female you know, and now is when there's a reason for that. Why can't it just be if she was in them streets, she was in them streets? Why can't it just be if she was in them streets, she was in them streets? Why can't it be that? A lot of fellas right here, like I say, you making excuses, but let's just call it what it is. In the internet age, please understand, these are not your best and brightest. These are not your most financially capable. These are the bottom of the barrel dudes and whatnot. These bastard babies from the housing projects, and they hear the hoe behavior. And, there's good reading with that. He found the word bipolar. There's nobody in his housing project who can spell bipolar. What? He's come to the internet. Narcissist. Bipolar. It becomes that. The Zoom link is now open. We're going to go ahead and let you all call up for this. We're having a conversation tonight about why it is that older women, the men, don't want to mess with the females in their age group. It's the women in their late 40s and 50s and ladies, there's a reason why. They already know this. Women don't get to this point in life and wonder why men don't like it. They don't wonder that. They get there. They know exactly why. What they're hoping is that nobody else knows the damn rep. Nobody else knows the rundown. Nobody else knows her sexual rap sheet. It becomes that. So what you end up looking for is a society of males who have no options. A man cannot help but to be emasculated by the knowledge that the chick he is with has been stripped naked by dozens of other males before she ever got to him. If a man is expected to stand in front of bullets for you, he's got to be able to do that with the knowledge and the certainty, not the guessing. He's got to have the absolute certainty that you are fully invested in him and that he's not a bailout, a last-ditch effort to get saved. He's got to know that he is that dude. You can't do that. You can't do that. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all right there, man. You can't do that. That's not what a man can be happy with there. You can't be happy with that. A man can't sit up here and give his all to somebody under those circumstances. This is why we don't want to have this conversation, because, hey, by the way, men aren't supposed to be saying this to themselves like this. They're not supposed to be saying that. Case in point, another thing that's come up here. Let me tell you about how pathetic things are getting. Let me tell you about how pathetic it's getting. And I have to do this. Oh, you want to talk about your childhood? For those who even remember, by the way, Ebony used to be a magazine. What? Ebony used to be a magazine. Now it's just some defunct online website that only people old enough to remember Bob Barker on The Price is Right that it has any relevance to or with them. They had an article here about the Black Wellness Edit, Red Pill Ideology's Impact on Black Men's Mental Health by some wag named Aisha Plummer. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it would be an insult to your intelligence and your sensibilities. It really would. But what it did say here is, red pill commentary has heightened in the black community, especially toward public figures and users, after exposing her breakup after a cheating scandal. Rapper Meg Thee Stallion was met with victim blaming and a dehumanizing meme of her and her exes that surfaced on Threads and TikTok, showing how black women's pain is publicly mocked or objectified. Okay. So basically, this is late stage publication is what this is. This is late stageism. This is what happens when you're in the death throes. So it says here that after exposing her breakup, now, if men did this, if men go around talking about she broke up with me and this, that, and the other, well, they would treat him like Kanye. Now, if men sit up here and talk about you broke up with me and start exposing messages and stuff, they would do you like Kanye. Why, as a man, you're not supposed to do that. So, okay, well, why is it that you're defending the females doing that? As a man, they'd be like, you're immature, you're stalkerish, you're unsafe, you're mentally and emotionally unstable. Even if the female cheated on you, they would still tell you, oh, you're mentally, emotionally unstable. You must be a stalker. What kind of weirdo does that? You're dangerous. Now, that's what they would say. Meg Thee Stallion does it. And by the way, we've already covered that. You got females out here harming people, and the media didn't say anything about it. Ain't that right, by the way? Keke Palmer. Damn. I'm sorry, we got that on video. Throwing hands, and the media said, oh, well. I ain't worried about that. Not worried about that at all. Erica Mania hopping fences to go stalk Safari. Oh well. No problems here. Now, if a man did that, they'd be like, oh, he's dangerous. Okay, but they do this here. That happens. So this is what happens when you turn your publications over to whatever Twitter columnist is willing to write for you, unpaid. This is what happens. So it said that she was met with victim blaming. Hold on a second. She's a victim of what? She made an accusation. How are you assuming she's a victim of anything? You don't get to declare yourself. First of all, she never said she was a victim. Second of all, why are you calling it victim blaming when there's no victim? She had a relationship. The relationship did not go to her liking. She's made an accusation. She can't prove it. We're not a third party to it. Why are you trying to take sides? So why are you declaring her a victim? Dehumanizing meme of her and her exes. Dehumanizing. How is it dehuman? Did you see what she said? Dehumanizing. This is supposed to shame you into not honestly discussing Meg Thee Stallion's life. We're not supposed to discuss where the hell she been. So as a man, you're not supposed to consider any of that. You're supposed to just take and accept whatever is slopped on the table at you. So please understand, this is a pathetic attempt, because it's pathetic, by these old washed up publications, most likely propped up by the government to give out this kind of dreck propaganda, to try to brainwash young males into saying it doesn't matter what the quality or lack there is of the female. As long as she's a female, you need to be subservient. As long as she's a female, you need to just take whatever it is. Don't ask any questions. Don't vet. Don't worry about quality. You just take whatever she gives you. Whatever she comes with. STDs, bastard kids, crazy sexual history, bipolar disorder. It's your job to be the damn cleanup man. You do that. Take on all the financial burden, all the social burden. Oh yeah, and one more thing. If she turns out to be the backstabbing rattlesnake that she always was, you're gonna be the one at fault. What? By the way, if she does turn out and stab you in the back later and go crazy, we're gonna blame you for that too. It's your fault. Whether it turns out good, if it turns out good, she gets the credit. If it turns out bad, you're going to get blamed. And if you don't accept her in her wretched state, you're to blame for that too. So you're a bad guy if you don't want run through females. You're bad. You're a bad guy if you don't want that. So, like I say, this is Ebony, what used to be a magazine, doing its best to defend hoe culture. Spoiler alert, it's not going very well. Showing how black women's pain is publicly mocked or objectified. Okay, where's the pain? And furthermore, pain is a part of life. She has no regard for Klay Thompson's pain, or Tory Lanez for that matter. So, they talk about some podcast I never heard of called Grits and Eggs. There's some metrosexual Jolly Rancher looking, Chef Boyardee looking nigga that nobody ever, who needs some dental implants, what? That nobody ever heard of, has no male following whatsoever, and is basically a male feminist. They got some male feminist, hangs out with Mark Lamont Hill, calls themselves Grits and Eggs. So it's just like, yes. What it just shows is that there are some folk who get propped up by anything, has no male following, no male support, no male anything. He's just out there by his damn self. Out there by his damn self, and Ebony is doing their best. It's not gonna be a thing. You're not going to turn it into a thing. You can send out all the bots. You can prop up all the numbers. This is not going to be a thing. There are no males who are looking at this guy and hearing him talk about how bad the patriarchy and misogyny is and saying, damn, I wish I could be like him. There's nobody saying that. This is the fella that the single moms are like, you know, we need a fella like this because he'll wife us up and take us off the market. And then she's ashamed to be seen with him because it's like, yeah, it's this fruit roll up soft dude here. So yeah, that's the best that they can do. the Jennifer Lewises of the world are happy about. Well, the younger versions of them. Here's the bottom line. It's never going to be a thing. It's never going to be a thing. It's never going to happen. It's never going to take off like that. Because it costs a man to have a woman, and it damn sure costs a man to elevate a woman, and no woman wants to be with a man who can't elevate her. And as they get older, the problem is she gets older and more expensive. She's hard-headed. She doesn't want to be molded. Now all you're really dealing with is a bunch of damn baggage. A bunch of baggage that you didn't even create. There's the real insult of it. If you get with a Jennifer Lewis or a Keke Palmer or any other ilk, you're going to be dealing with a bunch of damn baggage you didn't even make. You're dealing with a bunch of garbage and detritus. Look it up. You're dealing with a bunch of debris that you didn't even make. And she wants you to elevate her life. And all I'm saying is only a sucker and an idiot would do that. This idea that men need to normalize taking other wretched males' leftovers. That's the problem. The idea that they're going to take other men's leftovers. That's the issue. That's where it gets to be problematic. Is when you got males being encouraged and now pressured and trying to bully you and doing that. It's like, hey, man, men don't get to have standards. You just got to take whatever in the hell gets slopped off from the damn kitchen at you. And you can't be a man under those circumstances. That's not what being a man is. You can't feel respected when a woman has invested herself in a bunch of other people, because as a man, you know full damn well a female can't sleep with 30, 40 dudes and is fully invested in you. She already gave that away. She gave that to the first, 30 guys. In the chat room, sir, Jennifer Lewis is crazy. Why? Why do you say that? See, that's letting folk off the hook when you say that. Define crazy. Please understand, nobody has ever used that word in reference to Stephon Diggs. They don't use that in reference to Future. So I know what you think you're trying to say, but I want males tonight to become very, very sensitive to any sort of language that subscribes behavior to something else. Oh, it's beyond their control, which is what you mean when you say crazy. Oh, they're not able to control it. As a man, nobody ever says that about you. Nobody looks at men and says it's beyond your control. If you're a man and you do it, they immediately say, well, you're responsible. They don't look at you and say, well, it's beyond your control. Well, you're off your meds. Well, you're untreated. Well, we haven't analyzed your childhood. We need to take a look at all the circumstances that led you here. Nobody does that. See, we only start throwing these terms out there when women show up, and particularly older women. So please recognize when you start using sympathetic behavior that's meant to rationalize away these things. She just sat there and told you that she had a ball. She just sat there and told you that she loved getting run through by 63 men. That's crazy? So is she crazy when she tells you that she liked it? So if she tells you that she got run through by 63 men and it was fabulous, which is what she literally said, so she's not in control of her faculties. She doesn't really understand what she's saying. She doesn't really enjoy it. She doesn't really mean it. I want folks to stop for a bit and do some introspection about these things going forward. Because you see, this is how you empower and rationalize to females to keep doing what they're doing. Because what you just said isn't a call for females to stop. What you just did is it's not my fault. Why, they took advantage of me at the freak off. And as a matter of fact, they're going to take advantage of me again this weekend at the freak off.
Oh, please.
And it's not my fault the last 50 times I did it, which means it's also not my fault the next 50 times that I do it. I gotta tell y'all right now, what we really gotta do is have some age filtering on here, because these fellas, as they get older, just be honest, when they get older, they start being like, oh, okay, well, let me explain what it is. It's like this. I mean, hoes be on their medications. Jason, we can't be too tough on them because we gotta make sure, let's consider everything we can. So I go, all right. Let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if we can get, okay, we got Elijah over here on Zoom. Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, big brother. Good evening to you. Hey, brother. Excellent broadcast. I got a question for you. What happened to the good old days when foundational Black American women would get Jennifer Lewis's age, okay, and they would be silent. They would just shut the F up and everything like that. What happened to that? Because why would this close to 70-year-old woman open her mouth for the world to hear she had sex with over 60 men? Why would she do something like that? She's trying to stay relevant. I'm confused, big brother.
I mean, well, certainly. I mean, that's all she's got to offer at this point. There are no men lined up at the front door anymore. When females go through their mental and emotional Rolodex, they're looking for a man to come take that cushion for them. When the phone stops ringing, that's when this kind of stuff happens. So they have to throw out there. The bottom line is that when females get broke, they turn to sex. If they can't sell currently doing it, they sell what they used to do. But that is the go-to. That is the break glass in case of emergency, is give men the sexual update. The problem for Jennifer Lewis is that the only person who thinks that she's a young tender is a guy who's about 110. What? So if she runs into a fellow who's 110, she's probably young enough for him. Although probably not young as he would like. But there's where the issue comes into. Once you start getting in your 60s and 70s, there's zero competition. There's not really. Females run around and talk silly. I've met some. It's like when I see a chick in her 60s or 70s talking about what men want, I'm like, baby, all he wants is your doctor's prescription for, whatever arthritis medication you got. There isn't really anything he can do with you. Nothing. I mean, maybe you can drive him to his doctor's appointment, but that's going to really be the extent of it. So when you're in your 70s, bro, there are no producers. Let me show you something here. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me go ahead and show y'all something.
Yes, sir.
Later in the interview, she talks about when she went to Africa with this woman and talking about had a near-death experience. She fell down a flight of stairs or fell or something. What? And I mean, as you can see, she talked to them she had this lady there with her for a while.
Right.
Okay, what does that tell you? When it was time for her to go on a trip, she doesn't have a man to take her. She got together with another chick, and we're doing the a Lesbos thing. This is what's going on. When you get to a certain point, when you have alienated the only men, when you've been run through enough and stuff, you either got to find a sucker or you got to find another chick or go find some pets. And that's what happens. Eventually, you would just run out of all options, and that's where it is now.
Big brother, initially before you made that comment, I was thinking before you made the comment of the only person I would find her attractive is a 110-year-old man. I thought she effed up so bad that even old man Percy Earle wouldn't want her. But hey, there's someone for everyone. But
brother, but as people, forget men. As people, we have to stop using vague general terms that can mean anything. That somebody would want her. Want her for what?
There you go.
I mean, if she has a mean chocolate cookie recipe, all right, I want her. We can always use a good cookie, I suppose. Kids like that, you know. I mean, if she knows how to make some sweet potato pie, with some Patti LaBelle was able to do that in her later years. Yeah, we can all use that.
Right.
However, the question is, want her for what? Is this going to be the woman that you want to protect and provide for, and this, that, and the other? Is this where we're going? Because I'm like, is she the prime? Is she the candidate you were thinking of when you got up this morning? Because, brother, I got to tell you, I can't think of a man who's in his 40s or 50s who got up this morning and said, damn, I sure do hope I can find a 50 or 60-year-old out there today. That's not what he's thinking. When you go and take a look at the pictures they like, it ain't a bunch of 50s and 60-year-olds. And it's damn sure 0 70-somethings. Now, don't get me wrong. There will be some guys. These fellas got fetishes. So there are some fellas out there. The internet has exposed the guys who got fetishes. I don't think you should leave them alone, you know, with your favorite stamp collection, much less with another human being. That's where you get in trouble. So Jennifer is there if you want her, but this is the discount bin. I'm being kind with the discount bin. I really want to say something else, but you know, but this is what happens, and she's indicative of others. But the real point here is about the men. She has to go to Africa with this charming Irish lady, or she looks like she could be Irish. I don't want to get into that. Well, she has to go to Africa with her because there are no men doing it. Okay,
of course.
But you've got men who are doing better in life, later in life than you've ever had, and yet this is typical. Because you know what they don't want to show you on the Tom Joyner cruises or the Carnival cruises? They don't want to show you all the groups of women going around by themselves. You go to any Olive Garden, any Red Lobster, any Golden Corral on a Saturday or a Sunday, you will see squads of females coming through, younger with their bastard kids or just older by themselves.
Right.
This is literally the cesspool that they've created. And the question that you're not asking is, wait a minute, there's a bunch of upwardly mobile men who are getting older, and yet y'all are still floating around out here marching around by yourselves. Now, how is that? With plenty of complaints. There are plenty of complaints about what the men aren't doing, with no regard for, by the way, and this is the caliber of female that you got out here after a certain point. Brother, you were in the military. Once they reach their 40s and whatnot, it's a wrap. I mean, you're basically going to the discount bin and you're doing a bunch of stuff here that doesn't really inspire you. As a man having to take the damn leftovers, it's like, dude, you know when that's what you're doing. And you can't be passionate about that. Being a damn bailout, how can you be passionate about that?
Big brother, wait, you said you're still being kind and nice with the words discount bin, and I respect that word. But when you say another man's leftovers, respectfully, where Jennifer Lewis is at in her life, she's either one or two things, and I'm going to be nice with this one. She's either trash in the garbage or she's scraps at this point. She's scraps, not even leftovers for tomorrow. This woman she's basically a little pieces of the carcass at this point. Because I can't see that's another.
Right, but my real point is that we haven't had an honest conversation about the fact that she's typical of that. Folks, you can go around to any cruise ship, any resort, any vacation place or whatever, you're going to see a bunch of dudes there and whatnot. They'll be older nowadays. You'll find
Right.
that too. The real thing, though, is what I'm saying is that we're not having an honest conversation about why those men would rather show up on OnlyFans, why these men would rather, shoot their shot at a chick in her 20s and get her flued out than to just start with a Jennifer or somebody like her in her age group that you already have a rapport with. That's the real question that's not being asked. Do you know how much effort that the average 40 or 45-year-old male has to put in to try to approach or talk to a 25-year-old or 30-year-old female? What I'm saying is that the level of
100%.
effort that he has to put in is going to be considerably higher. It's going to be considerably higher than it would be for a female in this age group. The women in that age group, they're feeling it. They're feeling it super heavy. What we're not having is an honest conversation about why that is. Why is it that the men would rather expend 5 times the amount of effort to get the attention of a 25-year-old than they would of a 45-year-old, and they can just walk up to and they already have a, point of commonality and life experience? Why is that? You know why? Because these women's life experience today is a negative. They're trying to sell you on life experience. All 63 of them.
And deal with it, nigga.
She's telling, we just heard about Jennifer's life experiences. Drugs, getting run through, abortions, all around the damn world. This is the average middle-aged and post-menopausal female's, quote, life experience. That she's trying to tell you about how much smarter and more mature she is. And in reality, this is what it is. Right here. This is what it is. Ebony's not going to tell you this because then we have to get into a real conversation where they have to start trying to tell you about why that doesn't matter. Which, of course, they're going to avoid that. So when you pin it down to the terms that I've just given you all, which is, hey, when they're in their 40s and 50s, we're asking serious questions. Yeah, your body count matters. Body count matters. Where you've been matters. Freak-offs matter. Your sexual history matters. You know why? Because I'm not going to buy a house for a chick who's been run through by 60 dudes.
Damn!
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to buy a Bentley for a chick who's been run through by 60 dudes. Why do I have to buy a Chanel bag for a chick who's been run through by 60 dudes regardless of age? Who the hell is the prize here? How can you be a prize and, damn it, dozens of men have experienced you naked? How the hell are you a prize at that point? Who gives a damn about your income, your education, your professional credentials? All of that, how does that offset this over here? And that's all I get with you. Because I don't get to share your income or your credentials, but it costs me. So we don't get to have an honest conversation about the specific terms here that you're demanding that men accept. And when she's got dozens of men who have seen her naked, that at 40 or 50, that is her life experience. Right there. That's it. Now let's talk about why in the hell I would see any value in that. Why does that not immediately disqualify you? They don't want to start talking that. How can you be a prize with dozens of men on your body count? How are you still a prize? So as men, we better have these conversations with ourselves. Because there's nothing more emasculating for a man than to have another dude sit up here and be able to tell you what your woman looks like naked. You'll never forget that. Ain't that right, Will Smith, Kanye West?
Yes.
Y'all get the point. Yeah, if another fella decides to pull your damn Trump card, that's really the end of your relationship. I mean, you two can try to struggle through it if you want to. He's never going to live that down, ever. When you can tell another dude, yes, I know what your chick is like naked, and if you know what she do, he's not going to be able to get over that, especially if he's paying a lot more than you. He's got a mortgage sitting on top of him after 60 bodies. Who's lining up for that mortgage? Who's lining up for that cruise? Who's lining up for that Chanel bag? Who's lining up to pay the freight for this? And to be the protector of who's doing that? I'll let you have the last word.
That's big brother. I must say this, and I'm gonna land my plane. You was talking about how older women, the older women the women get, the more expensive they become, and the more hard headed. And okay, that's true, but I have and I think other men would think like this, but I could be wrong. I don't speak for all of us. I think they shouldn't be even open. That shouldn't even be open for discussion. You get to a certain age, especially you have what I call, and I'm being nice when I say this, a questionable biology. I'm going to say this. We have to have a 0, 0, 0 tolerance policy. I tell you to do something and you don't want to do it. You don't want to rock with the program. You're up out of here. There is no me going, and I don't think no other man should do this unless y'all were together for years. There should be no such thing, you going hard in the paint for women of a certain age. No disrespect to the sisters on here. All right. Unless she's really worth it. I don't really believe I don't believe that's her value at this point. You need to just get in line, forward, go with the program. Because this shouldn't even be open for discussion, big brother. That's just my whole take on it.
Okay, well, here's the thing. The thing is, we haven't had this discussion. They didn't, when Ebony and Jet were relevant, this wasn't a discussion. When BET was on the air, which technically it really isn't anymore, let's just be honest with ourselves, it wasn't a discussion. So this isn't something that they talk about in the corporate media. This isn't a discussion that happens on your college campuses. This isn't a discussion that was actually being held. So we're only holding it for the first time now. You've had all these other folks claiming to speak for us. What will usually happen is they'll get together some contrived, bogus-ass round table. They'll get up a bunch of metrosexual males who are going to use the latest feminist talking points and feminist jargon, all assembled by some college somewhere. They're going to sit them down, and they're going to want you to tune in so that those are your representatives. That's what they're going to try to do. That's what they've been doing. They do not want to hear from you what it really is. They really don't want to hear that. And this is a conversation that actually hasn't been occurring. That's precisely the issue. The conversation hasn't been happening. Now that we're having it, okay, it's a different discussion. It's a whole different thing now because we're actually having this discussion now. Okay, let's take this in point. I keep talking about the Tom Joyner cruises. Do you think that Tom Joyner is going to have this conversation on his damn cruise ships?
Nigga, what?
Not.
Tom will host the damn cruise, but is he going to be talking about the caliber and quality of the female? Is he going to be doing that? So they'll be sitting up here nagging us and badgering us, and Tom will sit up here and do that, but he's not going to have a conversation about this.
Big brother, that's the same. If you saying this about Tom Joyner, imagine the pork chop preacher. He wouldn't dare have a conversation like this of the caliber of female in his church. He don't want to mess up that bread. Of course not.
Well, once again, yes, you're right. He has a financial motive to it. You're correct. Right. But what I am saying is that he also had the biggest microphone at the time. And they would talk about a lot of crazy stuff in his program. But what they would not say is, by the way, if you're a man in your 40s, why these chicks got crazy ass body counts? They would sit up here and have you believing that was reserved for the younger females. The hell it was. Freaknik was a thing back then in the 90s. So these were conversations that he was deliberately not having. Now, you could say he had a financial incentive not to have it, but what I am saying is it's doing grievous harm because this is exactly the demographic he wants to have on that cruise ship without us having any regard for the quality of the females that you're bringing there. Now, that's why it's like, okay, can we sit down and have a discussion about that before we pull anchor? before we lift anchor here, or raise anchor, can we have a discussion about the quality of women we're bringing here?
Right. Of
And
course.
all they want to do is get together a round table and rationalize away why you should be doing that. And what I'm
Right.
saying is, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why don't you come and ask us if we're okay with that? Why don't you go get that old nigga out there who's loading up the single mom with her 4 damn kids in his Camaro? What? And ask us a simple question. By the way, how many fellas would like to trade places with him? How many of you would like to be him? How many of you, that's the relationship that you desire to have? Not, well, if you just stuck in a drought. No, I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about be with her for a couple of months. I'm talking about, no, you're going to marry her and make a commitment to her and financially protect her. How many fellas here, this is the arrangement you would desire to have? How many? How many of you would like to do that? That's the conversation that isn't occurring. Right there. In the chat room, Ashley, that's not a suggestion. So, I mean, that's okay. I'll give you a few minutes here to go ahead and hit me up on Zoom about it, but I'm not debating about that. So when you see your name in the chat put in there by me, that's not a nifty suggestion. So for my mods, that might be a suggestion. When you see my name next to it, that's not a suggestion. So why do you have to? Because I said to. So
Exactly.
You said something. It's time for you to go ahead and explain that. That's perfectly fine. In the meantime, you're done talking until you do that. Although, remember, you got 2 minutes. Otherwise, don't worry about it. But in any case, like I say, this is hurting a lot of feelings. Some chicks are getting old. They're getting older. They're getting up in age. And this is no longer anecdotal. This is not somebody else's story. This is their damn life. This is their life, and some of them are younger chicks. They've been smoking hella weed. The young females today who are all on weed and all just disgusting. I've seen more younger females smoking weed than younger males. What? And you know that the only thing that goes with is getting run through. A chick got a weed habit, she getting, slaughtered. So when we have programs like this, is giving them a preview and a forecast in their futures. And that hurts. That hurts. That's hard to do. When you got your Hebrew Israelite names and whatnot, and it hurts. It hurts when you're seeing that. It's like, I'll be damned. Men aren't supposed to be saying this, because what makes them feel comfortable is us playing dumb. You get together some panel of metrosexuals talking around the issue, but not coming straight out and saying what I'm saying, which is, who were the males who got up this morning and said, boy, I hope I can find a 40-year-old single mom to take care of? Who's the fellow who said that? Let's just say that right off the rip, so that when we do see her with that guy, we all know, so, okay, yeah, this is struggle love at its best. He couldn't do no better. So that we get it proper and stop trying to brainwash younger fellas into thinking that's something they aspire to. No, this is what you end up with if everything goes bad. It ends up there. Right. They don't want us to have this honest, straightforward conversation because you can't talk around this at that point. No, it doesn't feel good. It shouldn't feel good because nobody tries to soften the blow for men. If you're a man, your money ain't right, your status ain't right, you ain't tall enough, you ain't handsome enough, whatever. You just take it on the chin. You just take it on the chin, and it's brutal. And that's just the end of it. But they don't come back to us and ask us, okay, you're a fella, you got where you're supposed to be in life, you're making mid-six figures, you got disposable income, you ready to make some things crack. Now, what are your options? Well, if you're 45 years old, well, I could talk to this 40, 42, 43, 45-year-old female over here. Yeah, she's been married or not. She got kids, so it doesn't matter if she was married or not. Make weed habit, whatever, because we all know that's the sign of femininity. And I'm here to play, father knows best. So I've worked all these years, and this is the payoff I've been waiting for. I'm entering into somebody else's program. And I'm going to be challenged, and she's got her career as if I give a damn. And I'm going to be dealing with all that. And it's like, okay, so I can either do this with a minimum of investment, or we can find somebody half her age that's ready to get with the program. Now, it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more, but and what they're not saying is, okay, let's talk to the men who are in the position to make that deal and ask them why they're making the decisions that they're making. Although they already know why you're making the decisions. They're really hoping they can bully you into something different because, yeah, that's what it is. But the truth of the matter is, yeah, just ask them at the very, very basic point, and you get different responses.
Right. And to just to add to this point, what you just said, at least if the woman is younger, you can have she at least has she has to the most extent a certain biology, and you can have more patience with her because she's a baby compared to you. Not a baby, but she's young, so she's still learning the world. You can't have no damn patience with any woman, really, in most cases, past 35. You really can't have the patience and everything like that.
Right.
With the program, you're not.
When I talk about it costs you more, what Elijah just said, that's exactly what I mean. I'm not talking about money. It's going to cost you in patience. It's going to cost you in time. It's going to cost you in emotional investment. It's going to cost you in effort. It's going to cost you in labor. Forget money. We haven't even gotten the money yet. It's going to cost you to be able to do that. So do you expend that cost on a 40-something-year-old who you already know because you've met a bunch of them already?
Hell no.
You've already met a bunch of them, so it's not like you don't know what it is. And wait, even if she tries to pretend like it's different at the beginning, wait for the other shoe to drop. Or do you take that investment and putting into something younger? And even if the real thing is, what I'm saying is that even if the outcome is the same, you still got more for it. Or at least it didn't cost.
Of course.
You have something more to show for it than otherwise. Like, imagine if you have a 3-year relationship with a 26-year-old. You're going to get markedly more enjoyment out of it than the 3-year relationship with a 46 or, God forbid, a 56-year-old. What? You're going to get more enjoyment out of it. That 26-year-old is probably going to be bad to the bone, except for some of you fellas out there, you know.
Yes.
But she's going to look, anything you buy for her, anything you put on her, anywhere you take her, is going to be more impressive. It's going to be more impressive. You're going to feel more like the man. You go get a 46, 56-year-old, and it's just like, it's just, we're way past our prime here. But that's going to be it. And what I'm saying is that even if you put the exact same amount of effort and, quote, investment into it, you will not get the same return. No matter what you do, you won't. So what I'm saying is that, and it's going to just it costs you more to do that. So if you're only going to get 36 months, I'm being kind. Let's just say they both got a 36-month expiration date. You're going to get remarkably more enjoyment and value out of the 26-year-old than you will out of the 46 or 56-year-old.
Of course.
Even with all things remaining equal, even with there being an expiration date. You'll get a lot more enjoyment and a lot more fulfillment, a lot more status out of it. By definition, you will. Let me just give you an example. Everywhere that 26-year-old goes is new. I mean, unless she's been on the plane to Dubai already. What? But everywhere she goes is going to be new. For that 46-year-old, okay. I mean, with Jennifer Lewis, tell me where new you going to take her other than the church. Well, she probably already been there. But, I mean, where new are you going to take her? Where's the novel new experience you're going to get? Mars?
How would you feel?
I guess you have to take her to the moon. Mars? Put her on SpaceX or something. But what new experience are you going to give her? And furthermore, is it going to be worth it? How much is that going to cost you? How much you got to put into it? And is she worth it? What is it she's going to give you that's worth that? That's the part that's missing. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. And they don't want to ask men about this. You don't want to ask men who are in the age contingent to answer these questions. They don't want to have this conversation because they don't want to hear those answers, because then you have to explain to us the answers what I gave. You can't insult around it. You can't impugn around it. Just answer the question. What is it she's going to give? Where is it that she hasn't been that would be worth that effort for you at this late date? Don't give polemics or sob stories. Just name it, because you can name it for the 26-year-old. Tell us what she's giving. That the man who's built himself up for is going to be a natural for him. Oh, yeah, go ahead and do that. Difficult questions, tough questions, necessary questions. All right, we got iPhone here on Zoom. Okay, iPhone, what's your name?
I'm Najari.
All right, Najari, what's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to chime in just a little bit because my mom is 60 and my dad is here. They're married. You know, I called you a while ago and told you about me going to Thailand to teach English. And I might be a little off from the cauldron, the black arts, but to me, as a younger person than 60, I wouldn't think of getting someone who has 60 body counts, if you know what I mean. Just me personally. And I just wanted to say that. You know, I'm not an expert like you, but yeah, that just doesn't sound right.
Oh, brother. Yeah, he creeping out the door behind you there. What?
It's my dad.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I saw him creep on out the front door. So I'm like, oh, it's getting heavy in there, brother. Are you sure you want to have this conversation right now? Are you sure you want to do it like this? Because I see your folk back there, and I'm like, oh, he creeped on out the door when you said that. So I'm like, I think I heard some skeleton bones fall out the closet. So,
well, you know,
a lot of fellas tell themselves that it'll get easier with time. That's a lie. It's a lie. It doesn't get easier with time. It doesn't get more comfortable. He just runs out of options and get more beat down, but it doesn't get easier with time. So you have to make decisions, especially if you're going to start committing to things, because it doesn't matter if your feelings change, Chase Bank won't. You start buying houses, you start buying cars, you start making big ticket commitments and stuff. We're going to facilitate life. And what I'm saying is that even if your feelings change or you become less enchanted, you know, like when you're first sitting there and stuff, you're all passionate, you're go, go, go. It's easier to do that. It is not nearly so easy to do that when the bill has come due. That's where it gets difficult. So when you have to start hearing things like that, and now you're expected to just be okay with it, what I'm saying is that's the bill coming due. And when it comes due, can you hold that? And if a man, for most men being honest, the answer is no. That's not really this isn't what you set out to do. This wasn't the game plan. So if this wasn't really your game plan when you set out, and now here you are, how do you take pride in this? This isn't your mission. It's not your mission. It's not your game plan. This wasn't your intention. You've been hijacked. You've been hijacked and kidnapped, and now you're off on somebody else's side mission. And you're making a life out of what they put you, not them coming along on your journey. So that's where it really comes to. But in reality, a lot of males, I'm going to say most actually, kind of end up in that situation where they just end up making it. You know, it's kind of a situationship. Hey, Mom.
All right, sweetheart, he loves you guys. I thank you. Cause listen, I raised a young man, but y'all happen to, I'm a gentleman, but y'all happen to be a man. He really admires you. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. She got that one correct. So. All right. We got that right. Well, yeah, brother, like I say, just make the right decisions early, or at least do not make a permanent decision that you cannot walk away from, because most females today are looking for somebody to patch some holes together.
Thank you, Jason. Be one, everybody, to the family.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, have your earphones in next time, folks. What? Have the earphones in next time. Yeah, look here, let me explain something to you. Jennifer Lewis and the rest of them, we are not the damn civil rights generation. We are not the baby boomer generation. This idea that you're going to sit up here and tell men that the gentlemanly thing to do is sit up here and all. Ask Brittany Renner how stepdaddy season worked out. Ain't working out for no nigga that's about something. The best you're going to do is go find some sucker ass simp somewhere. That's the best you're going to do. The fellas that you was happy to give it up for back in the 70s and 80s, you're not going to find any of those. Not even today. I don't mean those guys. I mean their young equivalents today or their age equivalents today. The fella who's the man today, no, baby, that ain't it. It's not what it's going to be. So this idea that you all are just going to keep the 70s and the 80s alive and you're going to brainwash the current generation and whatnot, it's not enough. The reason why you're panicking is because we're having different conversations. There's nothing sexy about this, and you're not getting a whole bunch of, nobody sitting up here allowing you to rationalize the way and shame men and talk about what they need to accept. You are not a victim of people that you chose to be with.
And deal with it, nigga.
That's a damn hoe anthem given out by Ebony and whoever else is out there. You're not a victim when you chose them. You're not a victim when you went over there time again. That's not a victim. You're not a victim of the folk you chose to be with. You go to rob a bank and you get locked up. You're not a victim. That's not a victim. So your desperate attempts to try to reframe these things and recharacterize them and get men, well, y'all need to have sympathy. Sympathy my ass. No, we don't. We're fine just like we are. We're good just like we are. What it proves is that you were asked a simple question. Explain to me why in the hell we should take this damn thottery and foolery, and you don't have an answer. What you're going to end up with is a whole bunch of old females out here having to get in where they fit in. They're going to have to work till they die. They're going to be going on cruises by their damn selves. It's going to be them and a bunch of gals way before they get to senior citizen. It's going to be empty in a damn ghost town way before they get to senior citizen age. And now you're seeing the sad results. The problem with the internet is you get to see these people grow old in real time and get to find out, by the way, was that a smart idea? If they can get a guy, you don't want to be them. Hello, Tina Knowles. What? She went off and married Richard Lawson, and we were all sitting there hanging our heads the first day we saw him. It's like, oh, man. He married Beyonce's mom. Okay, but he didn't marry Beyonce. So, yeah, sucks to be him. How'd that work out? Yeah, I know about LeVar Ball. Yeah, the woman was married to him for 30 years. She had a stroke. He stood by her and whatnot. Now she wants to, after 30 years of marriage. But dude, it's already over. LeVar, the ship has come in. See, this is the part they're not talking about. Let me go ahead and explain this to y'all right quick. Making it to the NBA, that doesn't benefit mom. The sons making it to the NBA, that doesn't benefit mom. Mom isn't entitled to her son's earnings. She's not entitled to her son's income. LeVar Ball, however, started a shoe company and did some trademarking and has put together something that he makes money off of as a result of that. Now, mom is, under the law, entitled to that. But she doesn't have to stay married to you to be entitled to that anymore. So you see, she stayed long enough for the kids to get out the house. And she stayed long enough to make sure that this NBA thing panned out. And now that she's relatively sure about its solidity, how solidified it is, That's it. Now she's like, okay, cash me out. Cash me out. She's like, I can get all the benefits now and I'm no longer required to be with you. So just understand, she wasn't entitled to the son's earnings, but she is entitled to the intellectual properties and the company that dad put together. So of course she's heading for the exits now. Yeah, while somebody's going to come up here and wave in your face about, oh, upper income people don't get divorced as often.
Nigga, what?
Yeah, where are those people? Upper income people don't get divorced as often. We live in an era where people just lie to you. They just look you in the face and lie to you because there's something that they're trying to sell you. They either want to sell you on doing what they're saying or sell you on a product or sell you on an ideology. Just hold still while I pat these pockets down. But they're not actually selling you on reality, because reality's ugly. Reality's messy. Reality's not nice. And they don't want to have that conversation. In the chat room, Rashid James, who's wrong? Find out from Rashid James who is wrong. He says you're wrong. Let's find out who is he referring to. See, it wasn't supposed to go this way. It was not supposed to go this way. It was supposed to go a different way. Y'all, it is a Friday night here. Tell me why in the world that buck dancing barrister is up on a Friday night. Turn your damn camera on. Turn your damn thing on or I'm going to kick you the hell up out of here. You got 2 seconds, barrister. If I don't see your big ass grinning teeth on this thing, you're up out of here. We ain't playing no games. So that's going to be it. Okay. Barrister has been removed here. So buck dancing barristers up on the damn weekend making an ass of himself and whatnot. So that's the fella defending Jennifer Lewis. So just to let you all know the caliber of individual that'll be defending Jennifer Lewis. You're wrong, as he says from the coon side of Chicago. Now, those are the guys telling you that you wrong about that. Who says I'm wrong? Hi, it's me, barrister. Yeah, those are the ones doing it. All right, let's jump back over here on Zoom again. I'll see if we can get Brandon. Hopefully he's not out there on the road because his signal tends to break up when he is. Let me see what we got Brandon up here on Zoom for me. Brandon, what's on your mind?
What's going on, JB? Great broadcast as usual, brother, man. You definitely dropping knowledge as usual throughout the game, man. Appreciate you always for that, though, brother. But I definitely got to hope that you can always touch on this fact, brother. Like I always say, man, the worst part about trying to marry one of these old hoes or a hoe is that she not going to be a hoe for you, bro. That's one of the worst damn things about it. Even if you try to go ahead and put your little pride to the side and say, oh, well, that was her before me, do all the little simping things and come up with all the little simping codes and excuses in your mind as to why you laying up with this damn woman, though. In her mind, she just knows already. Dude, if you were that dude, you would hit it and quit it just like the rest of them. So by definition of being with her, you qualify that you are a simp. And she cannot respect the simp because, like as you always say, women punish weak men. So even if a dude was to try to go ahead and just push all that to the side, because let's be real, Jason, a lot of these old hoes, even like the old porn stars, or a lot of these dudes, they still would try to wipe up Pinky, Sarah J, Jada Fire. They would still try to wipe up these dang on chicks and still try to keep them. They would still actually do that. But the problem is, though, is what these dudes always seen and what I think even more the ladies need to understand is the cat's already out the bag. dudes already know, for the most part, how this thing is going to go. When you try to wipe up a hoe, she is not going to ever stop being a hoe. She is not going to, it's not going to be a Diddy party extravaganza if you try to wipe her up. That has already been proven throughout the damn marriage rates. It's not going to be that because she doesn't respect you, and dudes already know it. So just for all the dudes who just still won't get it through their heads, though, man, always be sure to understand, man, that it's not going to be that way. Women do not respect the men. And Jennifer Lewis said, she's like, whatever man does come, of course I'm going to dog him out. Of course I'm going to disrespect him because by definition of him being with me, he's a loser. Now, am I wrong, JB?
Man, if I could tell you how many of the old washed up porn chicks from 20 years ago that, I mean, are still floating around out there looking for a soft place to land. I've seen a couple of them try to be fitness instructors.
Nigga, what?
I mean, okay. I'm not going to down anything about it necessarily. I'm just going to say, by the way, you know we still recognize you, right? That's where we at. So what it really is a race to the bottom. I mean, this is what happens when you're in a predatory situation. This is what happens when you're in a predatory situation in a predatory environment. It becomes a race to the bottom. So what's going on right now is basically they are running the clearing houses. Some of them are going to the churches because they're looking for a guy. They're looking for a guy who's already predisposed to say that you are not your past. They're looking for a guy who is predisposed to say you are not your past. And so they figured that the pastor has already done the legwork of brainwashing you into doing that. And brainwashing you to accept that. Now they're just looking for the guy who'll go for it. And that's really what they end up doing. So the problem with being the fellow who makes that deal is just like, dude, it's never about you. It's never been about you. If you were young, you would realize that's treacherous. You don't grab somebody who's not fully committed to you. You don't grab somebody who's there with you because they need what you got. They don't want you or need you. They just need what you got. That's a dangerous situation for you to be in. That's a treacherous situation because here's the unspoken part of it, Brandon. What old hoes do not explain to you, and the reason why guys feel some kind of way but can't articulate it, is because if she doesn't really need you, she's just there because she needed the bailout. The problem with being with the person with the bailout is that they've always got 1 foot in with you and 1 foot out the door. The problem with getting with a chick who's got a body count in the dozens is she's used to men leaving. You're not special. You're not different. She just needs to convince you that you are. But that's not for her. That's for you. So what ends up happening is if you sit up here and go for that, she's got 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out. And she running a game to get you to be committed because she needs you to be all in. She needs that. But she's always preparing herself. Let's just say like it is. If you ever did something she doesn't like, you've never heard one of these chicks sit up here and say, he caught me off guard. I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that was going to happen. It's always they ain't no good. It's always that. So it doesn't matter whether you're the first baby daddy or the damn simp after the 5th one. Your reception is going to be the same, no matter what. At best, you're going to have her sit up here and play this game with you until you're dead. At best. And that's really what it is. And that's the dirty little secret. And nobody wants to say that. And nobody wants to tell it like it is. But that's really what it is. It really is. And they don't want us to have an honest conversation about this because the government wants more simps to take these chicks off the public dole. No matter how you get them off. And they're looking for folks to sit up here and patch that together. So, and besides, if you're the male, you get to rehabilitate them and reintegrate them back into the economy. And of course, it's going to cost you a whole lot more. They don't give a damn how you do it, just so long as you get out there and do it. But you need to normalize it and socialize it And that's what they wanted to do. This doesn't work out for men.
That's true. That's true, 100. At all, brother. But that's true. But it's like, Jason, like even these women, but they can't even hide. They're trying to pull that most definitely off with the government trying to get dudes to subsidize these hoes and get dudes to work harder so we can go ahead and produce more. I know dang on sure they didn't like that $830 billion in the last 4 years being taken off away from the alcohol industry alone. I know that gotta hurt the economy. But even worse than that, even if these dudes did try to go ahead and do it, these women, they can't even hide their contempt for it. I.e., look at Ciara and Russell. Ciara cannot even hide her contempt for Russell at all. She can't even fake it even for a minute. Now, you know they got PR personnel saying, hey, look, there's this dude named Jason Black who's pointing out all this stuff to these dudes, and you're being the prime number one suspect. Showing all of these stuff of dudes in their wake.
All right, I think he made it about as far as he could. I'm going to have a talk with Brandon about that. Every time he gets on here and stuff, like I say, he keeps losing his signal, so might have to be settled down, y'all. If you're on the road, you're taking chances. But thank you very much for checking in with us here, brother. Look here. The whole thing is about intimidating men and pressuring men to be able to take on all this load. They don't give a damn what you lose as a man. They don't care what you lose, what you give up, the dreams you have to sacrifice. Your job is to attach your value. Your job is to be the damn workhorse and to put yourself behind the 8 ball. Never for you to be in an advantageous position. That's not where you're supposed to be. Everything is about brainwashing you and calibrating you to just say, you know, you've been in a drought forever, and that if any female shows you, a peek of butt cheek, you're supposed to just throw caution to the wind and just jump at it and go for whatever it is. That's what you're supposed to do. And the issue that they're having is that the men are not lining up to be workhorses like that anymore. They're not lining up for that. Without them doing that, that kills it. You see, the issue with people having children older is the fact that men are not going to sit up here and be looking to go deep off into stuff when they get in their 40s and 50s. When a fella's in his 20s, you can get that 30-year mortgage out of him. Man, when he's in his 40s and 50s, he ain't trying to take on no damn 30-year mortgage. And he's not trying to lose the house that he's in. See, y'all, it's a game and a racket. The government makes money off of child support, for those of you who did not know. The government makes money off of that. It's been a racket between the federal government and the states. It's been a racket about that. You got states out there that, you know, they are sitting up here, and it's really not even a secret. It's an open thing about they make money off of child support. Okay, you got fewer men. That's why they're sounding the alarms that, hey, there's not so many males out here chasing sex anymore. Well, what that means is that is impending doom for the bottom line. If the men won't get married, there goes your ability to rape them, but to have the females in the home setting them up. If they're not chasing sex, well, your bastard baby rate falls. So, well, there you're losing that. So all the mechanisms you would have in place to be able to trap them, you don't have those anymore. You don't have those anymore, which is currently what they're looking at. You don't have those tools in your toolbox anymore to use. The males aren't walking off into it. So how do you economically castrate them and rape them if they don't give you the means to do so? Well, you're going to have to just come up straight up the middle and raise taxes and do a bunch of other things, since you can't get them to passively put themselves behind the 8 ball. You're going to have to come straight up the middle and start raising taxes and doing a bunch of onerous, egregious things. You see, you can't use well, he got himself into it. He disregards it when he got himself into it. But when you start talking about raising his taxes, he's like, hey, wait a minute, that's you doing it. So they need the men to put themselves in those positions. They need the men to be able to do that. They got wars they want to fight. They got corporations wanting cheap labor. They've got all kinds of things going on. So your unwillingness to perpetuate the vicious cycle, you cutting into the bottom line. And they don't really give a damn how you do it. If we can't get you on the front end, then at least let's get you on the back end. So if you do start drawing a pension or whatever, we can go ahead and start juicing you for that. See, there's the real issue with the pension pimp and the salary simp is a lot of fellas sit up here and start trying to make up for these things later. So let me get this straight. You didn't do a whole bunch of consumerist spending when you were younger. Then they get older and they start having their midlife crises or whatever. And then next thing you know, they start making up for all that spending on the tail end, which of course ends the same way. How do we entice these men to keep doing that? The problem is a 70-year-old doesn't do that. A 60-year-old doesn't do that. Truth be told, a 50-year-old doesn't do that, except for the guys who are really struggling. And this is a conversation we haven't had. I'm not telling the men what to do or what not to do in that regard. I am telling you about what will happen when you make those decisions. That's the thing. This is what will happen when you make that decision. Now, once you do, just understand you might be giving up power to something else. But this long-standing lie that's been told, this long-standing deceit that's been told that men don't care or that men shouldn't care about a woman's sexual history, that worked on the civil rights generation and the baby boomer generation. That worked on them. That doesn't work here. You don't have fertile soil anymore. They don't have a receptive audience anymore for that. You all notice they don't have anything to say. They're not really critical about these guys who rack up all these kids like that. I mean, depending on who it's by, they're not really critical about that half the time. Because those guys are supposed to send a message to the rest of you to follow their lead, that that's what you want to do. The issue is that that's really fallen out of favor. That's fallen out of vogue. It's fallen out of fashion. You don't have so many males lined up anymore to the point that all your publications are sounding the alarm. The men aren't going to the bars. The men aren't going to these places where they spend money. The males aren't spending on all these subscription services. You're really leaving it to the females. And the problem is the females will not work 80 hours a week to afford it. They'll just go rack up a bunch of debt. Well, a bunch of debt is really a burden. The males will actually work the hours. The females won't. And when you attempt to get the females to do it, the females start yelling about they need to be taken care of and they tired all the time. Next thing you know, they start yelling about having kids. Men will work 80 hours a week and say nothing about it. When you start trying to shift that burden to the females immediately, not later, immediately start squealing. They have no desire whatsoever to pick up the male's 80-hour-a-week burden. And they don't want to hear you trying to rationalize why you're going to shift it to them. You don't see any of these strong, independent queens at the Mercedes dealership looking at the G-Wagons or the Maybachs. They want the men to be motivated to do that. The women don't spend money during the holidays. What? We've covered this forever here, folks. Men don't spend thousands of dollars on a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old during the holidays. Men don't go shopping for Chanel bags for 70-year-olds and 60-year-olds. Men don't do that. Valentine's Day is a damn national joke now. Valentine's Day is officially dead. It's a national joke. I've been documenting it for years now. That's over. That isn't a thing anymore. That's just dead and gone and over. You can't get anything out of it. Hell no, you can't get anything out of it. You know why? Because there's no benefit to it, not commensurate to it. If the caliber of the females has plummeted, Valentine's Day is irrelevant. What are you going to do? Go buy chocolates for the same chick who's been with 60-something dudes? What? Where's the incentive there? So do you understand that when the men stop trying and the men stop competing and the men are no longer incentivized and the men are no longer excited, everything grinds to a halt? Because the women ain't gonna pay for it. The women are not picking up the slack. Let me explain something to everybody in here. You can talk about Rolexes. You can talk about Audemars Piguet. You can talk about Cartier. You can talk about all those things you want to. It's not going to be a bunch of women buying it. The women ain't doing it. And men don't do that for old women. They do it for a woman who's got a runway and a future. Men don't go and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a female whose runway is behind her. They spend that on a female whose runway is in front of her. The women ain't gonna pick up that slack. The women are not saying, okay, the men have left the expensive watch stores and the expensive shoe stores. Good, more room for us. That's not happening. The women don't buy the red bottoms. They desire the red bottoms. They don't go buy them. The men buy the expensive liquor. The women don't buy that. So you see, when the men back off, there's nobody to pick up the slack. There's no one looking to jump in. There's no one looking to say, hey, let me take care of that. The women are not looking up to pick up the holiday tab. Those are things that companies and economies use to pressure men to buy it. The women tell you that they love G-Wagons. Okay, but it's the men who end up buying them. The women aren't going to tote those notes. I covered that half a decade ago. The women are not going to buy that. The women sit on Instagram all damn day talking about their dream car. Okay, but you know what? The women ain't driving off the lot with one. Yeah, because you're going to have to work that 80 hours a week to get it. She's like, okay, I'll just keep dreaming. But the men are like, okay, well, if that's the shortest distance between me and being taken seriously by her, let me go ahead and take that on. So you see, the men are the driving force. What they overestimated was what a man would do for it. There's a whole generation of Jennifer Lewises out here, and I mean 20 years younger than her. She's going on 70, in their 50s and 40s and younger. And they told themselves the whole time that men didn't care how many dudes done run through you. They don't give a damn what you've been through. Don't worry, most males are desperate, and they'll just take whatever in the hell you throw at them. Regardless of age, regardless of body count, regardless of road miles, regardless of whatever, most males are just desperate. They're going to get in how they fit in. And don't get me wrong, there's a number of guys out there like that. The issue is it's not the ones these women really want. Now, there's the problem that creates the natural friction. She'll have a guy. It'll be more like a pet. The productive simps, those are few and far between. She wasn't ready for passion to go out the window at 40. It's like, you can't be passionate about this guy. I mean, he's a nice law-abiding citizen, but yeah, he doesn't give you the thrills and up your spine, the chills up your spine you used to get back in the day with Future. So that's gone. Were you ready for that to happen? And are the men going to pay a premium to have somebody's run through auntie or somebody's run through grandma?
Nigga, please.
That's where the problem is coming today. The relevance of the Jennifer Lewis interview is that, by the way, hey, they told us everybody was going to come pick up these used up grandmas. That's what they said. They said that we were going to have a bunch of used up grandmas out here, and there's going to be a bunch of men lined up to take them up and whatnot, and soft place to land. And that's not really what's happening. And they're not able to come over here and have a conversation with us to tell us that, oh, that's what it's going to be. Did you notice that? They're not really able to say that. They're not really able to say that. That's the issue that they're having. See, that becomes difficult for them. That becomes difficult when you start asking those questions. The men were supposed to come swinging in, and no matter how old they were, without you asking any questions. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a bunch of dudes. They still creeping out from the church, and your old uncle retired from the water plant. You know, that guy. Okay. All right. This is why it is so important that men remain competitive. I'm going to say one more thing. This is why it is important that men not go around looking like damn me black Santa Claus. What? Damn! I need to say this here right quick, and then I'm going to get off of it because I'm going to upset some people. But I'm going to say this, and if it applies to you, then nigga damn you.
And deal with it, nigga.
Fellas, you can try to talk up that salt and pepper and the gray beard thing and the gray hair thing and the Morgan Freeman thing. It's like, okay, fellas, you ain't doing yourselves no favors. If nobody's ever told you, if nobody says it out loud, by the way, hey, I'm the fella telling you this here out loud. Yeah, we don't do ourselves a bunch of favors with that. With a man looking old. Let me say that one more again. Men don't do themselves any favors by being a man who just looks old. Yeah, that ain't a flex. When you start giving away these obvious cues that you sitting on your pension money and your retirement money, and you trying to act like you doing something slick. Females look for obvious cues. Oh, I know this nigga got benefits. It's like a person driving around looking for somebody who they know has insurance. They want to jump in front of an 18-wheeler and swat and swoop on them, or swoop and swat them and slam on their brakes. And I know he's got insurance. And there's a bunch of dudes out here trying to act like you stunting. And in reality, it's just obvious that you're living on a fixed income. You ain't flexing, dude. The chicks young females can see that. All you old dudes in the military, shout out Elijah. Man, you're not fooling anybody. You're not flexing. You're not slick. They see it. You retired from the government. You retired from the water plant. You went off and bought a convertible. They can see that. She can see when you're in your damn 50s and you're trying to buy some souped up sports car. You're not fooling anybody. She's just like, okay, my ship done come in. Because what you are projecting is that, yeah, you ain't got it like that. Go ask I'm about to hurt a lot of damn fellas. The females were catching the body blows tonight. The fellas about to catch a few of them through them ribs right quick. They about to be mad as hell at me. Nigga, you ain't found a 26-year-old or a 28-year-old or an 80-year-old who is on her Facebook page today talking about, damn, I wish I could find me a fella with salt and pepper hair.
And deal with it, nigga.
And that's real talk. Yeah, before you sit up here, old man Sam, and try to fool yourself with that lie and act like we're all going to play along, go find the 30-year-old, the 28-year-old, the 25-year-old who's sitting on Instagram right now talking about, I wish I could find me Mr. Salt and Pepper in his 50s. Show her right now. You'll find a bunch of single moms and some hood rats. You are not finding no 25-year-old, 30-year-old talking about, boy, I wish I sure does love me a man who's all grade. Silver fox, more like something silver fail. What? No, that's not a real thing. That is not a real thing. That doesn't exist. That's fellas want to get lied to because, ooh, if she'll lie to me, I'll go along with it. Nigga, she sees the benefits. She can look at you and be like, okay, I'm taking a look at him. If he's driving the Escalade, oh, okay, you getting your pension. So they look for the nonverbal cues that tell them, okay, he's sitting on something. Where'd you go, Empress? Empress, why you playing on my Zoom? Why are you playing on my Zoom? See, that's what I'm talking about. Like the fat chicks. Men like more cushion for the pushing. Men love a thick female. They rename these things. We don't talk about how the guys rename that. We don't talk about how the guys go renaming that. So females are not dumb. They start looking for the obvious nonverbal cues that, okay, your money is spoken, not either spoken for or not spoken for. Let me pat him down. And he's, quote, just looking to have fun. She's just looking, okay, nigga, you ain't got nothing. You're easy mark, and they are. So to the fellas out there, fellas, along with the females, a male does not do himself a whole lot of favors looking old. Mr. Steal your grandma, more like kidnap your granny. But you don't do yourself any favors just looking old. That doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for men either. Shout out Dwayne Johnson. Some guys get it, but you don't do yourself any favors looking old. So please stop lying to yourself. Or go ahead and keep doing it. Them hoes taking advantage anyway. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if I can get Empress up here. Let me get Empress up here. There you go. Unmute yourself. Lower left-hand corner microphone.
Good evening.
There you go. All right, Empress, what's on your mind?
Well, first, good evening to you and the chat. I just want to say, great broadcast. It's really good. I can't lie. At first, I was kind of triggered. I was like, oh my God, we're talking about grandmas. But it's like you're saying some stuff that is so, oh my gosh, it's so on point. So just a quick story. I don't know how much time you have, but like just doing my personal like genealogy, like and you know, trying to just find out information. So my grandmother, she was born in 1933. Rock Hill, South Carolina. And my mom was born in 1950. Just to give you some idea. My uncle was born in 52, and then my aunt was born in 53. So whatever is happening in Rock Hill, and I say this because further in the story, like I've never been down there. Like I didn't go down there for summers. I didn't go, and I'm like, what is going on with us not going back down there? So, you know, now what I'm, in the spaces with people, we're like, we're delineating and we're doing our genealogy. And so I'm trying to find out information. My grandma has passed. My mother passed in 2018, but her sister, who's the youngest of the three, I'm talking to her and I'm asking her information. And I'm like, oh, so when did y'all, because from my childhood, I remember my grandmother, just like you said, in New York. She was in New York. So I'm like, well, when did y'all get, to New York? And my aunt, she remembers, right? She's like, well, May, that's my mother. She's like, May was 15 and I'm like 12, which is my uncle's in between the two. And so I'm like, wow. So if she's 15 and she's born in 51, y'all moved to New York in 1965? Like in the height of the civil rights movement, y'all like country bumpkins from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Who did she know? How did she get there? Why did she leave? And so she's like 12 and she's telling me the story. And she's like, oh, you know, because somebody was like, they was going to kill her. Now, she had just had a stroke. So she's telling me this. And I'm like, who's going to kill her? What are you talking about, Auntie? I'm like, was it because of like a man? And she's like, yeah. So I don't press. I don't ask no more questions.
Yeah, like, there you go. Yeah, it's not for some of the slow bus kids in the chat room. She's relaying exactly what I talked about before. So if you're slow and you're not able to keep up, that's okay. But just keep it to yourselves. But what she's doing is clarifying exactly what we said. Yeah, you start asking the family members, which is what I told y'all before. If you talk to them, start looking at those dates. See when grandmama was born, and then see when the first child was born, and then see if she ended up in a radically different state after that. All of a sudden, she's 6 and 7 states away, and then next thing you know, here we have a story about something. And what have I told y'all? Then they'll be on the run. So yeah, when you start asking some questions, it starts coming together. Now, the only thing you all have to watch out for is what you just told me. There's something in there I want you all to watch out for. Please understand that sometimes, and this is 50-50 when I say sometimes, but you all already know this in your families. A lot of y'all got families who are very good at keeping secrets. And it doesn't matter what people ask you. If you ask a certain question about a certain family member, everybody gonna give you the same, oh, I don't remember nothing answer. All of a sudden, folks don't know nothing and they playing dumb. So when you start asking about, by the way, how did grandma end up in Michigan? We're originally from Mississippi. How did you end up in Michigan? All of a sudden, you might get the story. Then again, it might be well, you know, we don't talk about that right there, or about who your grandfather really is. What? Damn! Or something like that. So you gotta be careful, some of y'all, if you start asking questions for those who know what the truth is. Well, we don't really talk about who your grandfather really is. You know, she got pregnant by that married dude down there in Lafayette. What? She got pregnant by that married dude down there in Baton Rouge. And that's how your mama ended up in Houston or Atlanta or whatever. Something like that. Or this was her third baby. And after that, we said, oh, no, we can't do nothing with this little hot in the pants thing. So they sent her off with her relatives, quote, with her relatives somewhere. So y'all got to be careful. I want you to ask the questions, but I want you to ask it with a critical ear. Because a lot of y'all come from families that you know what your family like if you ask certain questions. You know how y'all do. Who do you think taught you all to do that? Okay, if you ask certain questions, everybody gets quiet on you. You ask certain questions, everybody locks up, or everybody starts playing dumb, or you can't really get any real answers, or the answers you get from everybody is different. We didn't get the same answer from everyone. Well, they can't all be wrong, since they're all so certain. They can't all be wrong, so you have to watch out for that one, because that means everybody was told something different. That means at the time, they were told something different. It just depends on when they scrounge up their courage to ask. And then when you go back and check on them, it's like the first 48. You talk to all the witnesses, and now you're getting different answers from every witness. So I know I'm looking at it, this is all sounding very familiar. Yeah, and here's the crazy part. It's not rare. So I want you all to, this is not just your story here. This is what them folks was doing back then. That was what they did as a culture across the board. The last couple of generations have been the first ones that did not carry that practice on, which is why the old folk, they'll talk to a point and then they start looking. You can go find the most talkingest biddy in the nursing home. As soon as you start asking questions like you talking about right now, all of a sudden she clams up. Can't get her to shut up about nothing. She's all in church hooping and hollering. You ask about what I'm telling you to ask about right now, she's going to clam up on you. It's like, yeah, there you go. There you go.
I feel like you know my family because it's so crazy. I didn't find out until I was like 8 years old that my grandpa was my step grandpa Like they were never married. I didn't even know this. Right. So when people pass away, stories tend to come out. I do know this. I know that like them moving to New York in like the height of the civil rights movement, it really tore up my uncle and aunt and my mom. Like from what I remember, my uncle, he was like an alcoholic. He never got married. He never had children. You just say Uncle Butch, and he was that uncle. They'd be like, don't let the kids around him. You know what I'm saying? He was that uncle. My aunt, I literally have no childhood memories of her, because she was in and out of jail and on drugs real bad. Now, my mom, I guess she was the least scathed or whatever. She meets my dad and marries my dad. He's a preacher. But before she meets him, I have a brother that's not by my dad. And like, you saying, you ask these stories, and when they tell it, they kind of half tell it, or they tell it with a jest. And they're like, my mom was like a mistress. She was with a married man, and like my brother and his wife were pregnant at the same time. They look like twins. Now, so when she meets my father, they get married in the 80s. Apparently my grandmother was real instrumental in their relationship to make sure that, one of y'all got to get up out, or whatever it is. And it's just so interesting that even at my mom's
it's amazing
funeral,
what happens when you didn't have this really big, robust welfare state to be able to dump your bastard baby-making daughters off of. It's kind of amazing some of the things that used to have to happen when you didn't have that. You get pregnant by the married man down the street. The only thing that saved them old hoes, he got us hoes. I sure did.
And deal with it, nigga.
The only thing that saved them old hoes back then was you didn't have DNA. Now, that was the only thing that saved them old hoes from back in the day. Was that first we had a welfare state, and then DNA came along later. Had DNA come along first, you never would have had your welfare state. You would have known exactly who it is and who it was. And she got explaining to do, and she was lying to everybody about who she was with and how she was laying up with. And a whole bunch of chicks back then lying about who they got pregnant by and who the daddy was. So there was a whole bunch of lying going on. Once they lost their ability to do that, ain't it amazing? Isn't it amazing how things have changed when they lost their ability to do that? But look how they was moving back in the day when they could get away with that. Look what they were doing. And then they want y'all to believe y'all the hoes. They're talking to y'all like they were paragons of virtue, but y'all the little sluts.
And that's what I remember, just that. Like looking at like my like, and my dad was the preacher, and she made sure she snagged the preacher, and now here I am. But like, these are things that I'm learning like now, like in this time, like, so tonight with the little trigger, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But you are 100% right about everything you're talking about. And if you ask questions, you might get some squirming elders, but yeah, it's all true.
Well, don't be afraid to find out these things, because this is your legacy here. Don't be afraid to find it out. And one more thing, you need to know those things, because there's a lot of y'all out here. Remember, she came from one part of the country to another. Here you are, 5, 6, 7 decades later. You may end up back there again. I'm saying this because this is going to sound distasteful, but it's true. There's some of y'all laying up with your siblings.
What? Damn! Nigga, what?
If you don't have clarity on your bloodlines, there's a lot of you out there laying up with your damn siblings. I mean, you got some YouTubers out here lately that got in trouble with that. But there's some of y'all laying up with your siblings or your kinfolk because grandmama and them didn't want to admit to what she was doing or what they were doing. So all these folks out here doing that stuff, they didn't foresee a day of planes, trains, and automobiles, of, rapid rapid upward mobility, and that you might live in 3 major cities in your whole lifetime. Well, for them, that move was one time. They moved once and then they had to stop because they couldn't afford it. You can afford to do a lot more moving. And what I'm saying is that, yeah, and you might end up in bed with somebody who, by the way, if grandmama might have been okay erasing that, but will you be okay with it? Yeah, she's done some grimy mess and she wants to get away from that. Will you be okay with it? In the chat room, family reunions are nice. Don't get me wrong. However, you can't have a reunion with somebody that you don't even know is in the family. When Papa was a Rolling Stone, it's like, okay, he had kids with how many females? We need to know this. And let's be clear about this, baby. You know this. Hoes know who they get pregnant by. They know who the hell they got pregnant by. She wants to cover that up because the nigga's not going to stay with her. So now she doesn't want to have to admit how stupid she is. She's aiding and abetting in the cover up of it. And what I'm saying is that, well, you don't even know those are your siblings. Ain't going to be no family reunion. That's the kids that he had with that hoe over there on the other side of town. If it was on the other side of town, it might have been the same damn housing project. You don't know. All right, we ship both of you hoes out. 40 years later, here comes Empress. Oh, I met the nicest guy. She did an STD test. That's great. Did you do a DNA test? If you know that your great-granddaddy or your granddaddy or your dad was out there like that, you did an STD test. Did you do a DNA test? Because those are not the people who are going to show up at the family reunion or Thanksgiving. They don't know they're related to you. You don't know they're related to them. And remember, the old hoes, they won't even tell you who the guy was. They'll swear they don't even know who it was. Lying ass. They know exactly who it was. The problem is it's not convenient. So a lot of these are old ass senior citizen criminals. Let's be very, very clear. In many ways, you all are much more moral than they ever were. Because these are moral lines that you wouldn't have crossed. Back then, they were just scandalous. Scandalous, unscrupulous. And then they're going to tell you about the old days. Man, the hell with the old days. These were not good people. They weren't. They were greedy, avaricious, unprincipled, scandalous, barbaric. I'm not overstating it. And they had absolutely no problem with executing atrocities one year after the other. You come around asking the wrong damn questions, and now they want to shut you up. And I'm just telling you all, you want to know those answers. You're going to have to be fearless. It will make things awkward. I have helped people who made awkward situations. There's a reason why some of them contact me. I've helped them make awkward situations with stuff that folk tried to cover up. I told them what they can do to resolve some of those things if you dare. It may cost you financially, and it'll cost after that. And you'll be amazed that when you start getting answers that people didn't think you were going to be able to find, and how first they claim they didn't know, then when you start getting answers, all of a sudden, the attitude and demeanor changes. And now all of a sudden is, how'd you find that out? I thought you didn't know anything. I thought you had never heard of this. Of course they did. The whole game was like any cover-up, like any conspiracy. The whole game is to prevent you from knowing. They already have the answers. They're just trying to figure out how to keep you from getting it. Because I need to tell you something. Old hoes never get scared of the niggas they laid up with showing up again. What? Damn! Oh, I ain't supposed to say this. You don't believe body count matters? Old hoes live in mortal fear that the train of niggas that ran through them are going to show up again someday and tell the kids or the grandkids what they damn mama or granny is really about. And they live in mortal fear of that till the day that they die. Ain't that right, Jennifer Lewis and all the porn chicks and all the OnlyFans chicks? They hate somebody like me telling you all this stuff here because they live in mortal fear that the men they laid up with and how they did it, they're going to show it one day. That married dude, that cousin that they were messing around with, the fellas at the fraternity. Now he's a city council person or something. But back when he was in the fraternity and they had your grandmama stretched out over the damn pool table at spring break. 3-4 dudes had her stretched out over the pool table at spring break, and she doesn't want that. She lives in mortal fear that somebody may have that happen. And then next thing you know, at Thanksgiving, you're like, you don't really fool with grandmama no more like that. Yeah, she lives because all she's got is her family now. and the respect that you have for her, she lives in mortal fear that something will impact that. And she knows that would be there. That would do it. That would do it. So just understand when they mess wrong and they violate and they commit these transgressions, yeah, they really want that to just go away. They really do. Especially if they're holding out hope that they're going to get their life together one day. That's the big one. She done slept with 60 dudes, but baby, she doesn't want nobody knowing that. She damn sure doesn't want you to know who they were. Might get somebody to take her off the market one of these days. Women never get tired of telling themselves that one. You got little old ladies in the nursing home looking for a husband. To this day. All right, well, she doesn't want y'all fellas jumping up and talking about, yeah, I had that back in 68. So that's really the environment that you're under. And for a lot of you there who, you're like, okay, that was her mess up, not mine. They have a vested interest in concealing it. I'll let you have the last word.
Well, I just want to say thank you for letting me come up. And it's a hard pill. This was tough. It's like, I don't want to think of grandma as being, out there in that way. I can't even say it. But like, the truth is the truth. And like, it'll come out in the wash. And it's good to know these things and have these conversations. Like you said, we don't have these conversations a lot. Like, even when I was like, not my grandma, I don't talk to my grandma, but like, the truth is the truth. And like, these conversations they're good and they help with the future generations. I swear, if I probably would have known some of these things, not to bash my grandmother or my mother, but I had a child as a teenager. And I'm like, I think if we would have had these conversations, maybe that would have went differently. Instead of this whole like, oh, now you're the preacher's wife now, and you a whole nother person. And I'm finding out these things now that you passed away. And it's just it would have been, to me, better, like you saying, to have these conversations more often because they're true, even if it's your granny or it's your mom. I get that, but they're important to have. But thank you for letting me come up. Appreciate it. Great broadcast, by the way.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. I mean, yeah, a lot of you females, if y'all were honest about your families, your mama, grandmama, aunties, they were more concerned about securing a bailout for themselves than they were their relationship with you. However, that shouldn't surprise you because aren't you the kid she had by the married dude who didn't want her? What? Oh, and yeah, what you really don't want to admit is that they don't really fool with you like that because in reality, you're the kid that she had by the married dude that didn't really want her. You were the kid that she had by the rebound fella. You were the kid that she had by the dude she used to smoke dope with back when she was getting high in the 70s and 80s. Some of you crack babies, you're the kid she had by the dope boy. You're the kid she had by that nigga who was out of prison. You're the kid that she had because she was upset with her homegirl. And she was getting back at one of her homegirls, so she got pregnant by him because, yeah, she was trying to do that. You're the kid that she had by the guy she was in college with, and he was in a dry spell for the weekend. So it's, so in reality, you don't really realize it's like, yeah, she don't really fool with you like that. I'm just the first person giving you all the telltale signs to look for. These are the signs to look for, and first you're going to tell yourself, no, that's not me. That's not my family. Yes, it's yours. If these things are lining up as far as the reason for it and the motive, yep, that's the reason. And these are the things they're not going to talk about over Thanksgiving dinner. They ain't going to talk about that. Y'all need to find the old misfits in your family that don't fool with the family no more like that. Them the ones y'all need to go look for. All right, we got Elton here on Zoom. Elton, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing? My family's actually from Rock Hill in Lancaster County, so I can fill in some of her blanks because I live out here in L.A. And my great uncle Clyde, God rest his soul, made book from 1948 to his death in 2020. And one of the things he enjoyed doing more than anything was driving around pointing out the old women that used to turn it out. And the ones that, look like old church girl now. And his last girlfriend, he met her at the funeral of a woman that he used to lay up with in the 60s. It was her granddaughter.
See, the issue is that back then, when you talk about, places like California or Texas or whatever, LA and Dallas were much smaller places back in the 40s and 50s. They were much smaller places. So you think about them as these megalopolises today, but that's not what they were back then. So yeah, the social circles were a lot smaller back then than they are now.
And matter of fact, I found out if y'all want to find out what's happened, go probate. Everything is in the records. My mother died. I went through probate the right way because my family went from South Carolina to D.C. I came to the West Coast because they were in D.C. So the further I could get away from the better. And I found out that my mother met my father because my father came up and acted as a collector for my great uncle, the bookie, and met my grandfather coming to collect, and my mother talked him down, and that's how they met. So I could never understand why my mother could not stand my great uncle, the bookie, until after they died, both of them.
So your mom met your dad.
Everybody did.
Your mom met your dad as a result of your great uncle.
Because my grandfather owed money to my great uncle, yes. And she talked him down from, giving him the collection.
She talked him down from giving them the beats. So okay.
Yeah, we'll call it the collection squared. Yeah. So that's how they met. But I could never figure out why my mother hated my great uncle until everybody died, and then the story started coming out. But probate, all this in the record, you start finding out who can go back to D.C. and New York because they still got warrants, because you trying to get folks to get on the stand for probate, and the warrant's still sitting there from 65, and they're a fleet felon now and all this type of shit things. Great broadcast, by the way. You should do this one every month. Also, my grandmother, God rest her soul, did me a solid when I went down there. She made me go to my family, every funeral, every Saturday to see who my family was before you start kicking it with them, trying to lay it with them. Otherwise, you don't know who these people are. They just somebody you met. And she would grab you by the shoulder and go, this is your cousin. This is your cousin over here. This is your second cousin.
Yeah, this is essential. This is essential information to have. You're right. And that's the thing about folks showing up at the funerals. And that's when you start finding out who's the side chicks and who was the jump offs and how many chicks did he lay up with. Yeah, all of a sudden you start finding out how many folk they really knew. All of a sudden. It's like, okay, why the hell is it y'all didn't mention them until now? Because those people are not the enemy. I mean, they are. But no, making sure you stay ignorant. You're the enemy. Let's make sure you stay ignorant. So that becomes the priority.
So that's it. Thank you for the broadcast. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go back to listening to you on my YouTube on my speaker.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, a lot of y'all need to understand, boys. They don't like these get-togethers. They don't want you getting around. They don't want to have family reunions. They don't want to do none of that stuff right there. It's like, yeah, these old hoes was tearing it up. They were tearing it up, and now their priority is making sure that they conceal it till the day that they're dead, because there may be all kinds of ramifications as a result. And I'm going to say something else that's going to make y'all feel some kind of way. You got some folks out here, the only reason that they are still alive is because the folks they messed over never found them. What? Don't y'all know there's some of these old women out here and whatnot? Baby, you broke up her home and messed up her family. If she could ever get a hold of you, she gonna let you have it. You got states where you can sue folk for that. Some of them folk like, man, damn, suit. If I ever see that heifer again in life, that'll be the last thing I do. But I'm gonna let them get it. I'm not joking. I'm serious about that. I mean that. I know it sounds silly, but oh no, I mean exactly what I said. How you think the Bloods and the Crips got started if you don't think folks can carry a blood debt? Some of y'all don't understand. Okay, let me try this a different way. Think about some of y'all's favorite R&B groups, some of y'all favorite singing groups. You know, we can't bring them niggas in the same room together. Sports athletes and things. We got folk we can't get in the same damn room together now without them acting a fool. Come on now. Yes, it is on site. You know how you feel if somebody owe you money after 5 years. Imagine somebody sat up here and stole your husband, messed up your credit and all this, messed up your marriage and stuff, and you ain't seen them in 40 years. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Let me put everything else on hold and bust this nigga upside the head. I've been waiting a while to catch this felony. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, McNabb, Terrell Owens. I mean, we can go down the list, man. We can go down the list. I mean, that's real talk. Remember Floyd Mayweather? I'm talking about Senior and his brother. Everybody talk about Floyd Mayweather Jr. Remember the old ones, Floyd Mayweather's father and his uncle. They can't be in the same room now. Old ass men, and they can't be in the same room now. For all my boxing heads who know about that. Everybody talks about Floyd Mayweather Jr. They don't talk about his father and his uncle. Both of them fantastic boxing minds. Amazing boxing minds. Them two brothers, they can't be in the same room now. I mean, today. I'm being nice about that. You don't want to get some of these old women started on it. You think you ever gonna be able to get Cardi B and Nicki Minaj in the same room till the day they die? Did you see what them two hoes was doing on Twitter? I mean, they were for real going at each other's kids. I mean, Nicki started it, but I mean, did y'all see that? You think you're ever going to be able to get Cardi B and Nicki Minaj in the same room, or do you think it's on for life? I mean, they sat there and was going at each other about their kids. Okay, Roger's dead. I know who didn't show up for the funeral, so congratulations. I'm just letting you all know, if you think this stuff just happens and go away, and Jaden, they'll get old enough to get over it. I'm like, okay, man, you're naive. You're just naive. You're naive. You can go ahead and be that. That's what's happening in a lot of y'all in your families. You don't understand it's like that. Y'all got niggas after them since they were 30, since they were 20. Hey, y'all ain't gonna like it. Take a look at what's his name? Was it Julio? Man, don't y'all know how many niggas it is like that? Folk caught up with him 10 years, 20 years later. Y'all got folk out there after you for years or decades, man. It depends on how serious the offense is. The family ain't saying nothing. You sat up here and slept with somebody or whatever. You had the damn kid and ran off with the child and whatever and didn't tell him nothing. He knows you got pregnant. Now he on some Kill Bill. A lot of people out here don't think like that. This chick sits up here, gets pregnant by a dude, and then she skips town or whatever. I'm gonna raise the kid by myself. It's like, okay, if he ever catch up with her in this world. So it's like, yeah, she running all over the damn place, looking over her damn shoulder. Rest of her whole life, she's doing that. That's not accidental. Some of y'all, you don't think that's your family. It's like, okay, you better start asking some questions about these chicks who used to live in these big cities and they done moved around a lot, and grandmama moved here, mama moved there, and ask some more questions. Start digging and then come back and ask the questions again and see if those answers remain consistent. See if those answers remain consistent. And then you start finding out what's really going on. So it's a whole bunch of folk out here been moving around the country. Some of them had to move around the world. When you meet somebody, they don't have a problem living in some far out place in Asia, some far out place in Africa. Can't you tell that nigga on the run? Can't you tell that nigga's on the run? Yeah, they're hoping that somebody else don't find them. They old. That was a long time ago. It's like, okay. They're concerned enough that they still trying to move around. So, clearly it's not that safe because they still trying to move around. So for all of you in here, and that's another thing, as men get older, we know old hoes on the run. It's like, okay, they on the run from their damn past. You know you're a fella who's really just dried out and down and out when you start talking about, we all got a past. Please. Yeah, you know that you're a fella that you've been emptied out when you start talking about folks got a past. I mean, I know she had a past. She been all through the barracks. She done broke up chicks who been in the military. She done broke up marriages. My military cats, it's just, I beat the drum on this. Hey, Jason been doing that for 2 decades. I've been trying to warn niggas. That's a federal government program. Hoes all through that thing. If you got a hoe who been in the Navy, he call us hoes.
And deal with it, nigga.
You got a hoe was in the Navy? I'm like, man, if she was in the Navy more than 5 or 10 years, she done broke up a marriage or 2, man. You come wife her up after 10 years in the Navy. Nigga, if she was on ships, that's a wrap. If she was in the Army, she done broke up a marriage or 2. She been a side chick or 2, man. I mean, I'm not dissing nobody. You know what the deal is. Here she comes to you decades later and trying to convince you her past don't matter. Some fella with PTSD is on her damn sexual rap sheet. Nigga, yeah, you need to know this. Yeah, you really do need to know this. And as men, this stuff matters. So when grandma's gone wild, come diddy bopping up the road 30 years later, and you want to know why it is that men in this age group, we ain't really trying to fool with that. That's because if you're smart enough, you know the damn history, you're not going to make a fool of yourself, and you're not going to play along with it. That's all. It's no disrespect. It ain't anything like that. But yes, this right here, man, Jennifer Lewis is not rare. She's not the exception. If all you females in here, if your body count had to display on your forehead, you know damn well, I'm just going to tell y'all the truth. Half the females on the internet would disappear tomorrow if there was a sexual FICO score and you could look up their body counts, and I mean that.
And deal with it, nigga.
If the internet could actually give you a sexual FICO score and the real come out about how many of y'all been out there, I'm talking about regardless of your age. If men could actually get the real numbers, like you can get his actual income number, you can find out the actual number of his income, the number of his debt. But if men could actually find out your damn body counts, half half the females online, and I'm talking about all the way from the age of 20 to 90, half of them would disappear tomorrow. Half, they would be like Diana Rossini and these other folk and just close their social media accounts altogether. They would get off the internet. That's how you know when you're dealing with hoes, or at least hoes that the info, the documents done dropped. That folk know. Yeah, there's social media, she done with it. It's like, yeah, folk can sit up here and look up the score and be like, oh, okay. Now you can't lie your way through it. Why don't y'all tell the damn truth? Just be like Jennifer Lewis. Say your damn body count numbers so we can see just how many men and what caliber of male really wants to fool with that and really wants to invest in it. That's why women guard that number so much and just lie about it and stuff, because they don't really want to. That's going to tell us your value. Let's find out what it is. Oh, don't say that. I can lie my way to a Bentley. Now let's find out what the real damn number is. Because even the biggest pinch and pimp is not going to line up for it if that's the best he can look for, because he can make more money. What gives women value? Being a clean slate. What gives a man value? Productivity. A man can make more money. Can you get your 20s or your 30s back? So take a look at old Jennifer Lewis and Keke Palmer sitting next to her and how readily Keke jumped up and was grinning about it. It lets you know how eager they are to repeat it. Do not be deceived, folks. They're letting you know how eager they are to repeat this. She doesn't have any regrets, by the way. I'm so glad that she said that. Let me leave you all with that bit of knowledge. She doesn't regret anything. Please understand that. When she started giving the rundown about all them bodies, you notice she don't regret that. Fellas, the hoe that you wiped up, the single mom that you gave in and caved in for and bought a house. Okay, just thought you should know she doesn't regret it. You telling yourself she a different person. How's she a different person? And she doesn't regret it. The only thing she regrets is that you got a problem with it. They don't regret that. They cool with it. The only person they're hoping is stupid enough to go along with it is you, but they don't regret it. They don't regret it. Even as old women, they don't regret it. As a matter of fact, they sit back and wax nostalgic. Damn! As a matter of fact, they sit back and they are nostalgic about it. They sit back fantasizing. They go down memory lane. Dude, if she been with 60-something dudes, she's remembering that time in Vegas. They had her pressed up against the window. They had her stretched across the picnic table. They had her out there in the beach. She's remembering all of that right there with fondness. And then she gets you to swoop in at the last moment and pay all the damn bills. Man. I guess it's only a certain caliber of male who respects themselves, and then there's the others. So if you're a guy who's looking to get taken advantage of, they will be available. They will be available. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I hope you learned something from it. If you didn't, don't worry. Keep going. You'll live it. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Sir Shy. Thank you very much for your support here tonight. To Zachariah, the K-Home Warrior, Uno, Ryder Hawk, John Smith, Franklin, and everybody else here who's contributed to tonight's program. Thank you very much for your support here. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that all your favorite YouTubers love to hate watch and hate to love. So click that subscribe button and that notification button. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our Patreon, the link is in the description. We do it every Saturday, 12 noon Central Time. You are more than welcome to join us. For all the details that I cannot go into here on YouTube, shout out Grind Time. You showing up at the last damn minute. What took you so long? Okay, he waits right till we signing off here. What did he say? He wants to throw this through the bank teller's window on his way through. Better late than never, better late than never. Thank you very much for your support here tonight. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.